Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Transatlantic Call-In Show. This is the place where you get to call in and talk to two trans people about all your questions, anything and everything trans-related. So whether you are an ally who maybe has a controversial hot take, or whether you are somebody who thinks that Richard Dawkins is right and that, you know, biology textbooks are wrong when they say that biology isn't binary, you can call in too. We're happy to talk to you. I hope you answer questions honestly and like direct questions. You answer them and don't try to anticipate where we're going, because if we get some like dishonest dodging, I'm going to get upset. You're going to get defensive because I got upset, and it's just not going to be good for everyone. So let's just try to have a productive conversation where we answer direct questions and make progress. I am steering the ship. I'm Arden. This is Lex. What's up? Lex is here last
Hello.
week.
Yes, I was. We've been like doing the dream team for a couple of streams here. Next month we're gonna get broken up a little bit. I don't know that I'm streaming with you at all next month, so we'll get some more variety. Ben's coming back. We got some Josie next month. It's exciting. I'm excited for March. I'm becoming a springtime person, which is weird because I've always been an autumn person. But
Yep.
It's just beautiful, you know.
Spring has this like, you know, it's the new life energy where you're like, I'm excited. I'm full of like new things. So yeah, I feel that. I'm excited for spring, and also I'm excited. The line's got so much cool stuff coming up this year, you guys. I'm really excited. Tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Central Time, we're doing a Cus I Wanna. I'm doing a Cus I Wanna with Javon Bradley. Hopefully I'm saying the name right, but if you haven't watched him, he is a Twitch streamer. He's on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram. I would go check him out. He debates trans rights stuff and like leftist stuff all the time. He's outstanding on trans rights, but unfortunately, he's cis. And so I want to have him on because I want us so that we can still debate trans stuff, but not have to necessarily have the host be trans. So keep your eye out for that. That's going to be really fun. And yeah, there's something else that's really cool that's coming to the line. I can't say it yet. It's not confirmed. I don't have everything locked in. But be excited. Be excited. Cool stuff.
Looking forward to it. Yeah.
That's right. So let me see. I'm realizing I did not format the poll things. So no, I'm ruining everything. I was about to go to the poll and be like, so smooth, but unfortunately I missed a step in my routine. Okay, here we go.
Arden.
I'm the worst. All right, last week's poll reads, should hospitals continue administering gender-affirming care to minors in opposition to the executive order for as long as they're able to? 87% said yes, and 13% said no, and that's with 9.2 thousand votes. And I think, for the most part, what I said, the people who were saying no, it was kind of what we talked about last week, which is just that kind of baseline concern for the broader community, and that, you know, if their hospitals get shut down, they're not going to be able to treat other people, which, like we talked about last week, is something that I think I'm also obviously heavily considering. But yeah, I don't know if you have any thoughts you want to add on this.
Yeah, I mean, basically, you know, I understand that each hospital and each program has to make decisions, some cases about whether they even exist. I personally would like to see as much resistance as possible. So it's like, to the extent that it's possible to continue providing care to everyone, including trans people, please do that for as long as possible, even if it puts you in trouble potentially as a provider, because it's only going to be through throwing numerous wrenches in this system, like attacking it from multiple different angles. And a lot of those are going to include lawsuits. So like, wrongful stripping of your medical license or whatever, like there are going to have to be so many different types of resistance. Some of them are going to fall within the legal framework. Some are going to fall outside of this newly created legal framework. So, and like, yeah, it's debatable whether any of this stuff is even legal anyway. Every single executive order comes with a little caveat that says, to the extent that it is doable within currently applicable law. So technically, these executive orders aren't even really changing the law, which is why I encourage hospitals to continue providing the care, because your advanced compliance will not stop it from getting worse. So please resist where possible. Is my whole thing.
Yeah, No, absolutely. I'm spot on there with you. Also, I'm seeing the chat saying I have an echo. Do I have an echo to you?
Not to me.
Okay. That's strange. Could you mute yourself for a second? And then I'm going to talk a little and I'm going to have chat say when you're seeing. So Lux just put its thumb up. If you guys are hearing me right now and you can not hear an echo, tell me. Then we know what's going on. But otherwise, it's on my end and I have to fucking sort some shit.
It shouldn't be because they can hear you through my stuff. Because I'm on the, yeah.
You got headphones in? Yeah.
Yeah.
Not echoey, just really boomy. I have 2 different noise cancelers on, but it's kind of quiet in here right now. So let me turn off one. Does that change the audio quality for you guys?
A little bit clearer.
A little bit clearer? All right.
Yeah, it was just a little tinny.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, with that hopefully kind of sorted, we'll see. Let's read this week's poll. So this week's poll is oops, I didn't do my job. Hold on everybody. I'm sorry, man.
It's a day.
This is what you guys tuned in to see. I just want you guys to know that this is what you tuned in to see. Oh, I don't have the right poll thing in my files right now. Something happened. So this week's poll, it is in chat right now, is have you heard of the Lavender Scare? Or it should be, why is everything breaking? Hold on, chat. Hold on, chat.
We're struggling.
You know what's breaking everything? Is that, I think this happened like a couple weeks ago. YouTube decided it would be a really good time to log me out as soon as the episode started. Like they let me get the episode started and then logged me out. So yes, the poll that was supposed to go to you guys was, have you heard of the Lavender Scare? So that is this week's poll. Please answer that. That is up on the community tab and is also up in chat now for real. We'll come back and talk about that. I have no graphic. It's lost. That part of the episode is dead. All right. So, but yes,
but
we'll talk about
it. Yes. If you don't know what the Lavender Scare is, we'll tell you what it is, but we're going to take a couple calls first.
All right. Let's see. Who do we got for callers? Let's talk to Brandon in Tennessee. Pronouns are he, him. Says county is attacking a club enemy over LGBTQ presenting students. I assume that's supposed to be. So, Brandon, you are live on the line with Arden and Lux. What's going on?
Hi, Arden. How are you doing?
Doing all right. Yeah, why don't you tell us what's going on?
Okay, so long story short here, I live in a county in Tennessee, of course. I'm a teacher. And basically, I had a club, and that club was a tabletop gaming club. And it was mainly made up of LGBTQ plus people. Mm-hmm. And eventually what had happened was they decided just to start attacking me. And eventually my contract wasn't renewed. I went through all kinds of stuff. And basically what happened was I threatened to sue them and get the Department of Justice involved, and they had me arrested.
Wow.
So, yeah. So this is no joke. The rights are going away. I'm maybe a cis white guy. I'm just a guy. I'm not trans or anything. I'm just a regular old white guy. And this county is the most corrupt place I've ever seen. And they basically ended my career because I teach physics and math, but I have degrees in, upper physics and stuff. And it pretty much ruined my career and everything. And I'm thinking, what do I do? I can't protect these student rights. That's what I was trying to do. And apparently they're like, oh, you want to try to protect their rights? We'll just put you in jail.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So, yeah.
I'm a little bit curious. You mentioned like they attacked you and they arrested you. Is they like the school board or who is they exactly?
Yeah, it was the SRO that literally delivered a thing to me, banning me from the property. And then the next day I was arrested.
Wow.
And that was because of your, you have a TTRPG club, like you have a tabletop gaming club that happens to have a lot of queer students in it, and you're just like trying to stand up for them, and they're just like, we're gonna fire you. That's crazy.
Yeah, basically. I mean, I was trying to fight for them. See, we had all kinds of fundraisers. I stayed after school, and I mean, I played Magic, gathering with them, whatever. We did everything. And we had a bunch of money that had come in, and they wouldn't let the students spend it the way they wanted it. And I said, no, that's their money. And then they're like, well, they don't have to know why they're not allowed to spend money. I'm like, these are not kindergartners. These are high schoolers. They earn the money. They deserve to be able to spend the money.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just one thing after another. Like, they just fought me tooth and nail.
Wow.
I don't know if you've talked to the ACLU. I also know, I don't know if it's A4TE or if it's like in a partner organization that handles a lot of like trans specific like human rights violations. So it might be worth contacting an organization like this. I think you would probably have pretty good standing to make a case that would get like funded by, one of these organizations. So it might be worth looking into that. But yeah, I mean, this is fascism. This is why we're talking about the need for community outside of school and things like this. Like we really need to be like person to person, neighbor to neighbor, taking care of each other, because that's the only place where we're not going to have school resource officers and, other governing bodies who are going to intervene with a teacher having a club where some students hang out and have fun, but they happen to be queer. Yeah, this is really fucked up. I'm sorry to hear about this, Brandon.
Yeah, they've got DOJ sanctions against them right now already.
Okay.
Oh, really? That's kind of surprising, honestly. Yeah. Given the current state of the DOJ, I'm kind of surprised.
Yeah, they've been sued like 7 times already because of racism. So,
okay.
And the DOJ says you make one more boo-boo and we're going to pull your funding.
Right.
Well, that might be what they're doing to me to try to make sure they don't get another boo-boo.
Sure, they just want you to kind of, as a problem, they want you to just go away instead of this being another case of them being at fault for discriminatory practices. Yeah.
It's so frustrating
because we're going to intimidate him into not, suing us, basically.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. This is the frustrating thing, I mean, like, they construct these laws and these guidelines in such a way that is like, it's specifically made and designed to give them an out, right? So that when we say, the Republicans have, made it so that trans kids can't even participate in their after-school organizations. They can go, whoa, we've never passed any law like that. What do you mean? And it's like, sure, you didn't pass a law, but you walked around with your big stick in front of every single, school board saying, if we find out that you are enabling queer people in any kind of way, we're going to take your funding. And what public school isn't completely dependent on federal funding, right? So, yeah, it is. It's fucked up. This is fascism. This is what the early steps of a trans genocide are going to look like, is things like this. Completely.
And see, it don't just stop there either. They wouldn't let us, sell food and stuff. And I'm like, what about the Christian organization that gives away free tater tots every morning? How are they allowed to do that, but we're not allowed to do it?
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous.
I think you're completely right that they're just covering their ass. They're just getting rid of you in case you become a problem for the DOJ. Like that's all it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just thought I would let people know that, like, I think people don't get it. It's like, well, it's only affecting the 2%. It's like, no, it's not. It's affecting everyone. Anybody that's got a backbone, it's going to affect them because, you either going to, I don't know. It's just ridiculous. Civil rights violations out the wazoo, and they just don't care.
Yeah, it's true. I will say, as far as like next steps for you, Brandon, being in that situation, obviously extremely stressful. You've lost your income. You probably have people who need you to have an income, right? So I would say, like, obviously contacting the ACLU, because that is a very clear, I feel it should be pretty clear, like wrongful termination and potentially even against state law. I don't know what the law is like in Tennessee. Obviously, it's like kind of the South, so it probably. Right, word state. Yeah. And then
Mhm.
also for your like potential future employment opportunities, I don't know what your level of knowledge is, but you could potentially look at private institutions like a college to see if you could potentially still have a job doing what you are good at. Just I know it's going to be difficult if you're used to working with like high school students, shifting into a college environment, but it seems like private institutions are going to be one of the things that we're going to have to unfortunately rely on to kind of try to protect us in that way that we were talking before a few months ago about like if Disney like stands up to Ron
Mhm.
DeSantis or whatever, like these private corporations who have a moneyed interest in mind. But you know, if the Overton window is swinging in that way where it's like it is more profitable because people will boycott if you are right wing as a company, you know, we can hope that those private institutions are still going to hold. But again, it being Tennessee, you probably it's going to be a little bit of a job search for you for sure.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I just want so what you would suggest is maybe I thought about the ACLU. Not on my end, but like the kids' end. I just don't know how to save their. They don't even have toilet paper in the bathrooms. Like it's
Wow.
yeah, I can't get nobody to help. So maybe the ACLU is where I need to go then.
At least
Yeah,
asking, yeah, inquiring to see what kind of work they do and what type of case this could result in for them.
it also, you might need to start putting together some sort of like community thing to solve problems like funding for toilet paper and stuff. Because remember, Donald Trump is intending to destroy the Department of Education, like completely vaporize it. So there's going to be no real system for which schools can appeal to the federal government and be like, hey, we can't even afford toilet paper. Can we get more money? Like, so yeah, I think these are going to need to be often, in a lot of cases, community efforts. And I think people like you are the perfect person who can be like, hey, somebody has to look out for these kids. It's got to be somebody local, collecting from local people. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of people are willing to help out with schools and stuff like that are local to them. So hopefully that
Yeah,
could be a good
fundraisers
effort
and
for
stuff
you.
like that. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the things too. And maybe that's what I'll have to do. But my problem is I can't reach out right now because literally I'm not allowed to post anything on social media or I go to jail. So I
Wow.
can't
Just
do any
Wow.
outreach to
under
anybody.
investigation now. Wow. I mean, yeah, I would say, I mean, are you allowed to go to the grocery store? Because there's got to be somebody in your local community who, like,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
I mean,
frankly,
the
go to the
kids are
news.
behind me.
Yeah, frankly, go to the news, like local news stations, and say, like, they don't have toilet paper in these schools, and yet here they are coming after me and like doing all this, and obviously there's if they get entangled in another lawsuit, that's more money gone from the district. No wonder they can't afford all this. Like, frankly, I think kicking things up with local news stations is another thing that we're going to have to get involved in. It's like while you're working with the ACLU, contacting the local news organizations and just saying your truth, just saying this is what's happening. I care about these kids and their education, and I'm just trying to help them have fun and build like social like connections with one another and contribute to the community because you said you want to like make and distribute food as like a community good, and they're just not letting you. So all of this frankly is like the perfect kind of story, and you are kind of the perfect person to be at the center of that as like a cis white man. You've been a teacher for a while, and for you to be punished like this and be potentially screwed out of a long-term career beyond this, I think that would be a good spin for an organization like the ACLU to latch on to.
Absolutely. You got a whole like reverse cancellation thing, right? Like
Mhm.
the right was for years complaining about how if they said, the T slur on Twitter that they would lose their job and they were just the biggest victims of cancel culture. And then here you are having your career destroyed, not because you teach LGBTQ stuff, not because you are a school counselor who told a kid that they were trans, but because you ran a group that happened to have a high representation of queer people in it. Like that is the epitome of cancel culture. Yeah, I think there's definitely something there that can be jumped on. And while the cops may have some sort of rules about your social media posts, I completely agree with Lux. Go to the news. The news can report it as much as they fucking want. And that's the kind of shit they love. Like, oh, we can't speak up for this guy, or, this guy can't speak up for himself. Like, yeah, that could be a really good story. So, I don't know. Yeah, you got something there, Brandon.
Sorry, I lost you. My phone went to sleep.
Oh, no, that's all right. You can watch it back and catch anything you missed, but I do think going to the news is a good option. Is the summary of what I said. So,
well, I appreciate both of you giving me the time, and it was good. It feels good to talk to two people that I know are allies, because around here, it's just you're by yourself.
Yeah. Well, thank you. We depend on people like you and communities like that. So thank you, Brandon. I appreciate your time.
I know. And one thing, I just need to say one thing before I go. You
Sure.
You got to say it. One, Matt, you're gay, homie. And two,
Sure.
tell Jimmy to go fuck himself.
Sure.
Right on. Thanks, Brandon.
All right.
See you later.
All right.
Right on. Yeah, I think it's just in so many areas that kind of stuff is just a complete display of hypocrisy, right? Like it's like satanic panic, free speech problems, cancel culture. It's like everything they claim to be against happening to one individual. All right. So I don't have the graphic for the poll. So I guess we're just going to sit here, the two of our faces, but looks like currently, let's see, let me end this poll, get those final results. 67% of people say no, they haven't heard of the Lavender Scare, and 32% say yes. I know sometimes people called it the Lavender Menace, so maybe that's the confusion, but I think there's a difference between the Lavender Menace and the Lavender Scare. The Lavender Scare was like federal employees being fired for being suspected of being gay, was basically like a mass firing was what that event was. Whereas I think the Lavender Menace is more like generally stoking fear about queer people, and kind of particularly lesbians, but also generally queer people. Lux, you want to dig in more on that?
Yeah, I mean, basically, so we're bringing this up for a specific reason. So we're giving you the historical context for an event that is happening currently, because, frankly, for a lot of these things going on, we have historical precedent for, and you should know what's happening next. When we see these patterns start to bear out, we can see what occurs following that. So just looking at US history, the Lavender Scare, is this moment in US history where, like, it's similar sort of to the Red Scare, where if you were suspected of a communist, they would fire you and you would never be able to work again, blah, blah, blah. Same type of thing happening to gay people. And actually, I remember reading something from the military. I don't remember which division of the military it was, but during the Lavender Scare, they were like being issued guidance to go fire all of the lesbians in this particular division. And the response back was like, you will have no secretaries, you will have no nurses. Like, you don't understand the level, which is kind of where the concept of don't ask, don't tell emerges from in the military, where they're like, well, okay, just kind of keep it to yourself, okay? We don't really want to lose all of these women who support this organization, but we don't want you to be gay, so you just need to pretend like you're not while you're working. So what we're experiencing now is about 100 employees have been terminated, intelligence employees, which, to be clear, like we talked about a few weeks ago with are we undermining the strength of the US military and our power, like, globally, by removing trans people? The kind of people who are being eliminated from intelligence positions are like people who've been doing it for a really long time that you might not want to not have anymore. But it was basic stuff. I know the Dead Domain on their channel, they went over, like, here's what was actually in the text logs. And it was just normal stuff from trans and queer people talking about something was being portrayed as a urine fetish, when it was just trans women talking about how things have changed when they go pee since they've had bottom surgery. So it's just totally normal stuff. And this is like a chat that was related to, like, the organization, in the sense that it was a bunch of people who worked there, but it wasn't like an official work chat or anything. So these people have been fired for their private communications about totally normal stuff. You know, like post-hysterectomy women will talk about changes in their pelvic floor system, or like after they, oh, I can't hold my pee after I had 5 kids. They are okay to do that stuff according to society, but 100 highly skilled intelligence agents have just been eliminated. And we also are seeing like an outright trans ban coming up, and
Yep.
these things are concerning, because if you look also at Nazi Germany, they had a huge purge of Jewish individuals in the military prior to their escalation. So this is why we're drawing your attention to these things. We want you to know about the historical parallels. This is happening now. There is going to be more bullshit coming soon, and we need to start really, really, really understanding that this is happening now, and we don't have time anymore to try to figure it out, or like hope that things don't get worse.
Yeah.
It's already bad.
And it's already on an unmovable, like it's a fixed path towards getting worse. Like it will get worse. Period.
This is not a slippery slope argument. Like, I want to be completely clear.
Yeah.
There is a set path. They have stated their intentions. They are following through on their intentions. They just got rid of the rule that says you can't surveil people just because they're gay or trans. You like I might be under surveillance right now, and I would not know. And that's the situation that we are in. It's very serious. So like, yeah, we appreciate y'all watching and being here, and we hope that you take everything you learn here and you take it out in the world and start like really working against this, because we cannot do it alone. Absolutely not.
Yeah. I think it's also good advice, you know, as we're seeing these sorts of things happen, that people be more wary of, you know, how you behave, how you communicate, and how you interact with things online. Make sure that your data safety is as good as possible, because I think we're, man, it's a whole different game, you know. I do think we are flirting with the beginnings of a trans genocide. Maybe we're already in the middle of one. It's rough out here, fam. I mean, literally, this teacher just told a story about how he got fired from a D&D club. Not D&D.
Tabletop, whatever. D&D is tabletop.
D&D.
It's
a D&D group.
It's like styrofoam, you know?
Yeah.
It's just become the universal term.
Right. He got fired from a D&D group because there were queer people in his group. Like, that is fascism. Like, anything that goes against what we say is the case. I mean that's authoritarianism. Fascism, I guess, is that plus nationalism and misogyny. Hatred for xenophobia maybe is a better. It's rough out here. I see some people also confirming that Lavender Menace is more specifically about like a lesbian women's rights movement, whereas the Lavender Scare was what we were talking about. So got it right. Know my queer history. Hey baby. That's right. We like to talk about queer history here. It's important for you guys to understand the like historical context to everything that's going on, because this isn't new. This is why it's terrifying to people. Oh,
I can totally
God.
substantiate the trans genocide thing. I would love for us to get a caller who's like, it's not trans genocide. And I'm going to be like, I have a graphic.
Right.
Like, I can go through every step.
Yeah, no, I think that would be a really interesting call. I hope someone calls in about that. But okay, so let's see. We've got a bunch of callers on the line. I want to get to all of you. All right, we're going to talk to Rogue Without a Pause. Okay. They, them in USA says that censorship is coming down the pipeline with education research regarding trans people. So, Rogue, you are live. Tell us what's going on.
Hello, Arden and Lux.
Hello.
Sorry if I talk super fast or anything when I get excited or just anxious. That happens. But yeah, so I am a trans researcher and professor working in education reform. And literally, not only are we told, hey, don't study trans people anymore, but we're being given and circulated different lists of terms that we're use if we plan on any of our funding to actually go through. And since literally all of that, for the most part, unless you can find some sort of private firm who's interested in like helping your particular population of interest, you're going to be completely cut off. Like I have several friends who signed on for like several year-long grants that were already promised and already allocated for, and that's just kind of gone away. And then just to kind of really just shout from the mountains how bad it is, the Tennessee story is not too unlike what I'm hearing from colleagues from across like the U.S., where literally just the implication of supporting the trans agenda, like an example, if a student asks for a due date to be adjusted due to getting gender affirming care, like say a top surgery or even just like a facial feminization surgery, and the professor is seen saying, yeah, of course, that is a investigatable offense. And like
Wow.
we're all just sitting here still trying to make education better and like help those who have been kind of fucked by the system for ever. And now we're getting dumbed down to, I think the exact language was, we are building talent for the workforce, is like the only way we can really say, hey, we're trying to lift people up and give them skills so for their own like self-actualization, not just work for a corporation. And it's just,
it's so silly. It makes me think of like the way that like YouTube or TikTok or Instagram will censor certain words. And because of that, people still talk about all of the things that are censored. They just have to do it in the most annoying and cumbersome way, where it's like, you know, segs, or like they'll say corn instead of adult content, right? And it feels like I suspect going forward that research won't fundamentally change much, but you guys are just going to have to like speak in parcel tongue to code things in such a way to pass the approval of the federal government, which seems so fucking ridiculous.
Oh
yeah, like it seems like it's functionally impossible to do the research that you do if it's about trans people. Like it's like, how do you talk around it? I don't know that it's possible.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're not even just limiting it to trans people. Like the list of terms on there is terms like implicit bias or population, as in like a population with exceptionalities. Like, it's just so dumbed down to where like there's any sort of room for diversity there, it's a death sentence for grants and stuff. And it makes me think about all of the, you know, admittedly bad faith actors I've seen on here who bring up the CAS report, or just like really poorly done research that is not like defined in a very specific way to justify their beliefs and stuff. And they're now kneecapping us researchers who are using precise language for a precise reason. And now it just makes it so much easier for bad information to proliferate if we can't even say bias. Like, I mean, it's
that's what they want. You know, I hate to be a conspiracy theorist, but I've been dying to talk about this. I saw some clip of some billionaire at some convention. I don't know if it was CPAC. It may have been CPAC. It was basically saying that they fully intend to cause, and I have no way to confirm that this is actually a plan of the Trump administration. Just a caveat for commenters. I am speculating on something I saw on the internet. That they fully intend to cause. They want people to be uneducated. They want people to have no access to good information. They want bad health outcomes, and they want the economy to collapse because they feel that the working class has become too awakened to their station, and they want to remind them that they depend on the elite class, the employers, for a job. Like the specific phrasing was something to the effect of like they've flipped the dynamic, the power structure, where now we answer to them, where they think we depend on them, but they depend on us. We need to remind them. And it genuinely feels like it doesn't make any sense to pause. But like what RFK has instructed, the organization that they need like run up time to pick which strain of the flu vaccine they're going to work with to effectively immunize the population. And they're canceling that meeting. What purpose could you possibly have to cancel immunizing people against the fucking flu unless you want death and suffering to ensue? Like, I don't know. I am being a little conspiratorial here, and I'll fully own that, but it feels,
honestly, though, it fits the facts because I've been doing my best to track bills in different areas, especially the areas that keep getting brought up by Trump, where he's like, we need to give education back to the states. It's already ran by the states. I don't know what the hell he's talking about there, but he keeps saying like Indiana and I think Tennessee. And the bills going on there are literally, and I think like Texas as well, are literally making a wedge into the coffers that goes to public education and either is cracking it all the way open to give to charter schools or is being used to full on shut down schools just because their attendance has dropped too much for the charter schools. And so it's like, where are those kids gonna go? And there are a lot of signs of lowering the standards to have a less educated populace, and a less educated populace is always easier to control. It's like the dumbing down of just the Civil War in the last, forever, but like the dumbing down of the Civil War has made it so much easier to just kind of write off all of like the Reconstruction and all of the terrible terroristic attacks on Black people, and it's just to kind of like massage the narrative. So I don't know if they're intentionally doing everything we're saying, but the results, it's a distinction without a difference, unfortunately.
Yeah. The phrase that I always like to come back to here is the purpose of a system is its outcomes. So even if the stated intention is we want everybody to have opportunities, we want everybody to have a full-time job and they earn their wage and whatever, blah, blah, blah. We want everybody to be insured. But the actual thing that is happening is like not record unemployment because everybody has multiple jobs, but like a very bad economy, right? And people are dying and, people are on the streets. Homelessness is on the rise. The system is producing its intended outcomes if that is what is happening. If we don't want homeless people, then we would do things in a different way. We would give UBI or we would give unconditional housing. This is the problem that I have with neoliberalism, is that they don't actually want to solve homelessness. They just want it to go away without anything actually happening to solve the problem, right? So I don't think that this is conspiracy theorizing. Like sometimes things just are a conspiracy, but also like a conspiracy happens in private. None of this is private. Project 2025, they made a fucking website for it. You know what I mean? Like you could go to a website called Project 2025 and read their agenda from themselves. And then here we see it bearing out. Absolutely. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's really all I had. Just wanted to sound the alarm because I'm not seeing enough of it, and with how slow moving a lot of like research is, like literally, I'm on a project that has been like working for over a decade now, and just with a tweet, like everything has to stop, and we're all like, hey, are we working? Do we get paid next year? Is my contract going to be fulfilled? And it's frustrating.
And you're finding out on Twitter.
So.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But thanks for taking my call, guys. Love the show.
Yeah, thanks for calling. We really appreciate it, Rogue. You have a good day, and we'll talk to you next time.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Bye. Wow. I didn't really foresee this being how TACIS goes for the next few months, but I guess it makes sense. I was like, oh, I didn't know we were going to have like callers who are like, here's how the fascism is impacting me personally. Like, okay. Now I'm like, okay, I can just listen to this story now.
Yeah.
I'm trying to do so much better when I'm not on shows, like to not pay attention to it. Cause man, it's just all day, every day right now.
Yeah. Oh, same. I know I'm not doing particularly great. It's weird. I told you before I'm oscillating because like my personal life is the best it's ever been. My career is the best it's ever been.
True.
But also when I wake up in the morning and see that the country is collapsing, I just fully dissociate because I'm like, I can't even engage with that. Like that has to get locked away in a part of my brain that I don't open because like, oh my God, actually there was a great remix that one of the like news comedians grabbed from, it was like a viral TikTok, which was basically somebody being like, the country is collapsing, but I still have to go to work today. And I'm like,
exactly
what
you mean.
It was how I feel show. Yeah. Every fucking day. I'm like, oh my God, like the country's collapsing.
Yeah, there's a hostile government takeover.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yes. Oh, it's so good.
It's such a bop, and it's so sad that I'm like, yeah, this is it, and like this is how we have to, like, genuinely, you guys, like, you have to have fun. You have to be able to poke a little fun out of it. You can't let them terrorize you like all day, every day, you know. And so this is one of the ways you can take that feeling that you're having and then put it in a little song that a bunch of other people are then going to remix on top of. That's how you build class solidarity, babes.
I just have this like fantasy of this like plot of land, right? And there's like 20 plus little tiny houses, and we all get together like once a week and we just like dance in the middle, and we're all queer and we all just like are listening to Chapel Roan and having a good time and like taking care of each other, taking care of our people. I don't know. That is like my fantasy escapism that I've been living in my head.
Everybody, I'm trying to convince Arden to move to Oregon with me.
Oregon commune.
Truly, though, like there's plenty of space up here, you know.
Yeah, but, man. Yeah, it's rough out here. But all right, we got more calls. I'm probably going to close the lines because we do have full lines right now, and I think all of these calls will take us. It's going to be like a long show, even if I close the lines now, we get to all of them. So,
no worries.
Yeah, I'm going to close them down. Jess, if you can hear me, I am closing the lines, and you are free to go whenever you please. Shout out to Jess, you guys. She's awesome. She's fantastic. And she caught a band caller who had evaded me. So, good, Jess. Killing it today. Thank you. All right. Do you want to do... I'm kind of interested in Michael on line 6. Oh, wait.
Yeah, sure. I see which one you mean, but...
Wait, no, there was a different one that was in that position, and now it's gone. Oh, yeah. Andrew, so I want to talk to you. You're right. 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Andrew in Michigan, pronouns are he, him, has no problem with transgender people who wants to talk about trans sports. So... Andrew, you are... Oops, I didn't hit the button. Let's try that again. Andrew, you are live on the line with Arden and Lux. Tell us what's going on.
Hello, ladies. How are you?
One of us is not a lady, but thank you so much for being here.
I'm very sorry. I wasn't trying to do that. Give me a moment. I'm going to turn off my computer, or if you need it at least.
No worries.
Yeah, good call.
All right, give me a moment. Yeah, no, we're cool. All right. So, you know what? I believe everything that you guys have said all the way up to this point, but I'm a 60-year-old man. I'm heterosexual, so no problem there. Mm-hmm. It's just the way I'm built. The problem is, and this is the problem that I see, is that one final step for some of these religious people, like people men playing in women's sports and such like that, is that they just cannot, they cannot deal with that. But I've also played sports. And I mean, for the longest time, there was battles about, girls playing boys sports. And I was always like, that's crazy. No problem. If that girl is good enough, let her play. But then, men playing in women's sports. I used to play sports. I know a lot of people. And I know for a fact that men playing in a women's sport is dramatically different. And I was just wondering what your thoughts were on that.
Wow.
Sure. Yeah.
Go for it.
I like talking about this issue. I know that some people are getting bored with it, but I feel like I've just recently kind of gotten all my arguments together. So happy to discuss.
Okay.
So first of all,
no, I'm actually, trust me, I am totally on your side. So you're not really trying to fight somebody here.
Sure. No. It's good. It's good. I know how to address it.
That constantly comes up. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So basically, like, we do see averages between men and women's different performance, right? And it seems like those things, there are some biological components to it, but we have actually seen some evidence that these differences in performance are actually more strongly correlated with poor funding for sports when people are younger. So testosterone makes a minor difference in sports performance between men and women, if we're just not even talking about trans people, right? So we can see.
Well, I'm just talking about even the size difference, maybe.
Right? Yeah. Give me 1 second.
We'll get there, Andrew. We'll get there. Andrew.
All right,
I'm with you. I'm following. I'm listening.
So there seem to be some differences in performance that seem to be more strongly correlated with training, good coaches, good equipment, good funding at the younger ages. And frankly, there is still a disparity even at the, higher levels of sports performance. We do see, like, obviously there are some averages, like, men tend to be somewhat taller, but I don't think that that's a good argument to say we should segregate sports on the basis of sex, because you have women. Hold on, Andrew. I love you very much, and I would really appreciate it if you would not interrupt me.
No problem. Finish up.
Right. So there are women like Gwendolyn Christie, who is an actress who's like more than 6 feet tall. So we can't say because men on average are taller, we should have a industry-wide permanent separation of the sports.
It's a statistical abnormality, man. There is not like a
but Andrew, you can't make sweeping. Hold on, you cannot make sweeping judgments about entire groups of people if there are exceptions to that rule that you're trying to create, right? And that's just talking about men and women and the difference in sports performance between the two of them. We have seen if you give these people the same level of access to good coaches and all this, the performance tends to equal out. Now, we also see that performance is negatively impacted.
I played sports,
Andrew,
and I disagree.
Excuse me.
Entirely.
Hold on.
Well, wait,
I'm interested in having the discussion with you.
So I'm just
I'm giving you all the information,
and
I will give you an opportunity to come in. That's how this works, Andrew.
You continue.
Yes, I will continue because this is my show. So
you know what?
Even the difference in performance between men and women, we can see is impacted by segregating them in the first place. If you tell young girls that girls perform worse on math tests, and then you give them a math test, they will perform worse.
I muted Andrew.
Thank you. I appreciate that because he's really rude. Man, these people are like, I would like you to educate me, but I'm also going to fucking interrupt you every 20 seconds. Give me a minute to lay out my argument, okay? That's what laying out an argument is, Andrew. So even without talking about trans people, I can demonstrate that we should not have sex-segregated sports. And you're going to just laugh at me, even though I have evidence on my end of this. If you segregate sports, if you tell women that they're bad at something, they'll perform worse than a group of women who you don't say that shit to. So the simple fact that we've segregated sex and paternalistically say, it's because you would never win if you competed against a big, strong man. That's why women perform worse. It's because you keep telling them that they're bad And that results in, across genres, from math performance to sports, it causes them to have poor performance compared to men who are constantly being told that they're the best and they're just incredibly dominant and they're never going to lose. And that's completely not even getting into the trans aspect of it. So, Andrew, I will now give you an opportunity to respond. Thank you for giving me a moment to actually say my piece.
I gotta tell you something that's really crazy before he talks, is that I had him muted on my end where I get to see the levels if he's talking. He talked the entire time. The entire time. He didn't listen to a single fucking word you said. So I'm gonna drop Andrew. I have no interest in speaking to Andrew. He's not a good conversation partner or an interlocutor, but this is an important topic, and so I'm gonna hold him on mute here like my little toy until he drops himself. And we're going to use this as a nice little platform to talk about the issue. But yeah, it's unfortunate because it is a really interesting topic and I would like to have a back and forth. But yeah, when you are laughing at someone's argument with it's one thing if you laugh and you go, oh, I'm sorry, that made me think of something. Or if you laugh and go, I have good reason to believe that this is actually a really bad argument. That would be totally defensible. But he didn't do that. He just went, ha ha ha, see, you're totally fucking wrong. There's no argument, no quantity, no quality to that discussion. But yeah, I mean, I'm 100% with Lux. When it comes to, are you banning an entire group of people? Okay, you need a really good fucking justification. You really need to be careful to make sure that you aren't unnecessarily excluding people by those methods, unjustifiably. And the current method that we have does unjustifiably exclude perfectly capable athletes all the time. It's in no way disregards biology or reality or trends that men tend to, on average, perform better. It just talks about what is the reasons for those and are those sufficient justifications to keep trans women out of women's sports. But yeah, I mean, thanks, Andrew, for giving us a topic to talk about. He did drop, but yeah, no, the entire time you were speaking, the entire time he was speaking.
Yeah, I'm catching strays on the misogyny today. That's what I think is going on.
Wild, for real, dude. Yeah, right out the gate. I don't know. It's one of these things. It's like I said earlier, you don't have to agree with me. You don't have to agree with our position. That's not why we muted you. It's the whole point of this show, the whole point of all the shows on the line, is that we bring together specialists and experts, and whether or not they necessarily have academic professional qualifications, they're people who've been talking on these issues for a very long time. And we have you guys, the callers, call in to present an argument or a disagreement or a challenge to us that the host, the specialist, will help educate on or dissect the problems with the argument. That's what's going on here. Andrew, like many callers, seems to think that the purpose of the show is that I can give him a microphone so that he can make his argument. And that's simply not what it is. I'm sorry. You're not just going to get to talk here uninterrupted for several minutes, but we do get to talk uninterrupted for several minutes because that's why we're fucking here. That's why we're hired on the team in the first place. So, with all due respect, eat my entire ass and not in a nice way.
And I just want to reiterate for people in the chat. So what I said earlier is that lifetime performance differences start in childhood. So if you're going to make an argument that, teenage boys can beat the records of professional women, those professional women had bad coaches, less funding, less support. And if you're worried about what Andrew was saying, he's men are so much bigger. Then just make height and weight classes. You don't need to do sex segregation. It's fine. Thank you.
Yeah. If somebody else, well, no, I already closed the lines, but if somebody wants to call next week and have that conversation, or wait, when is Lux on? Are you on next week? You and Josie, right?
I don't think next week. I think the week after.
Okay.
13th and 27th, I think.
Well, call next time Lux is on.
But I like talking about it.
Yeah. So somebody who wants to talk about that, wait for when Lux is on again, and then call it and try to see if we can have a more fruitful discussion than Andrew. All right, we are going to take. Let's see. Michael seems interesting, and I guess Brian seems interesting. Although Brian is kind of. Let's take Brian. We've had similar calls today, but the rest of them aren't like quite in that same vein. So, Brian in Kentucky, pronouns he, him, has more stories and thoughts about universities scrubbing DEI programs and those kinds of things. So, Brian, you are live with Arden and Lux. Go for it.
Yeah, so first of all, I find it very out of pocket that Andrew's like, please just, can I interject? Like, because this is something I bitched about the first time I called, which it's like, it takes a second to spout something that is misinformation, and it takes a very long time, like Lux was doing, to go into all of the nuanced stats and data behind something to explain why what they're saying is dumb. So, like, the whole
and they don't listen.
Is just, sorry.
No, you're fine. You're completely right, Brian. But yeah, go ahead. What do you want to talk about?
So, okay. So, I currently live in Kentucky, but I grew up in Cincinnati, and I hate to be, another bearer of horrifying stories or bad stories or whatever, but there was a lot of drama recently with the University of Cincinnati, because they sent out basically a mail that more or less said like, hey, sorry, but we receive federal and state funding, so if we want to keep funding, we're going to comply and strip all references of DEI from all of our programs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then, believe it or not, there were bathrooms on the campus where they replaced the bathroom signs from saying men and women to ones that literally said biological men, biological women. And now they have they did eventually take those off. But I was looking at some discourse online, and I saw some people saying like, well, you got to understand, like, there are thousands of people that are employed, and they want to keep those people employed and everything. And my take on that is, okay, so you're just basically saying fuck trans people and fuck gay people because we want the normies to be okay. That's my take on it, but sometimes I feel like I can be a little too idealistic because a lot of people were saying like, why didn't the university push back on this? And I'm of the mind that like they could have and they should have, kind of like what Lux was talking about as be as resistant as possible. So I guess what are your thoughts on it? Because my thought is just like, it's pussy shit behavior, like fucking step up and take it to the courts. Don't fucking roll over and take it. I don't know. So sorry, talking a while. I want your thoughts on it. So, yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
You can jump in. I mean, I was just gonna, restate what I said earlier. Basically, is like, yeah, I completely agree with you, and I, the choice of language, I completely understand as well. Like, it does feel like you're just like these universities, these companies, these corporations, everybody who is capitulating. I'm just like, stop being such a bitch. You know what I mean? Like, stop being such a little baby. Yeah, I completely understand that sentiment. Like, yeah, we need, like, do I have to be the only one in the room who says this is bullshit? Do I have to be the only one in the room?
Mm-hmm.
And that's so frustrating because you're on the front lines of it and you're just standing out there alone. And you know that there are people behind you who could come stand beside you in this fight, metaphorically speaking. And they just won't. And it's because people are scared. And I get it. I understand. It's not just people's jobs. It's people getting arrested. Like our caller earlier didn't just get fired from his teaching job. He was arrested for trying to have a discussion about this thing. He was like, the school resource officer just took him away, and now he's under an investigation and can't post on social media. So I understand why people are scared. I am also scared. That's why I moved. And even then, I'm still worried. I'm still concerned. I'm like, who am I talking to? Who knows that I'm trans? Part of it is that people, I'm like, I don't necessarily want to be recognized from my online activism in real life. That feels weird. But yeah, like for so many people, we are scared for our jobs. We're scared for our livelihoods, for our families, for our lives in some cases. And so it's hard for me as a person who is determined, like I'm the persecuted minority. Like Arden and I, we are the people who are going to be harmed by these things. And yet we're still out here every day showing our faces, living our truths and like arguing for our existence. Like, and yet we stand alone. Like, what the fuck is up with that? Like, what is wrong with all these cis people who aren't even at real risk? Like, oh, find a job. Like, okay, that's everybody has that problem.
Good advice.
You're
Good
not
advice,
unique. Yeah, you're not unique because you lost your job. Fucking figure it out. You know, like my doctor back in Kansas, he left the practice that he was initially at because they started fucking over trans people. And he was like, you are not going to have me anymore as a doctor here if you keep screwing over my patients and like charging them for stuff that they shouldn't be charged for. And he left his practice. He lost his job. And like, we need more people who are out there willing to put things on the line, willing to sacrifice something, anything. And I just don't know how much we're going to really see it.
Yeah. This is part of why I was saying, like, I have this fantasy of, like, you know, these sort of like commune situations, just because
I'm all in.
Right. Yeah. Mostly because that's like the only way we really resist, that we really fight back, is going to be a situation where a lot of people do get fired, where a lot of people do protest and say, no, fuck you. And then everything collapses and they go, okay, we're sorry, come back. We have to have these systems in place. So if that's what it takes, we'll bring you back. And like having those kind of like environments where we're like, hey, yes, you don't have a job, but also you can hang out and sing with us and go get chicken eggs and pick vegetables with us. And then we're all going to eat dinner together. Like that sounds like the beautiful utopian future in my head. But, you know,
it's crazy that we live in a culture right now where if we did that successfully, Arden, there's going to be fucking boots. They're going to send boots to our commune.
100%.
Like, I'm just trying to live my life. I'm just trying to do my thing. And you're going to come here and like mess up all my stuff. That's the problem that we're having here is like, we just want to live away from other people. We want to do our thing. We want to be mutually supportive. I don't need any Medicare or whatever. I don't need food stamps because I grow my own food, whatever. Don't need your services. And they still want to come mess with your shit. And it's like, get away from me, actually. Leave trans people alone.
This is where, I can't actually say anymore because I'm going to get myself in trouble. And I would like to keep the show on air for as long as possible. Y'all, this is going to be a problem going forward, FYI. We're going to have to be careful, and I know we're going to make mistakes, and we're going to say things we shouldn't say, but not because we shouldn't say them ethically. I think there's maybe a good argument that we should be advocating for the things that I was about to say ethically, but in terms of not wanting to be arrested and wanting to keep our channel online, I will keep my mouth shut. But yeah, I'm very frustrated, Brian, and I'm at a loss. I don't know what to do about all this stuff, and I do think it's mostly community oriented is going to be where a lot of the solutions are. But yeah, it's sickening.
Yeah. I saw in chat someone said specifically that the bathroom signs were related to something specific, and I wanted to talk about that too because it's just complete. It just exposes just the outright absurdity of this like anti-trans legislation. So it's all about Ohio Revised Code 334590, which went into effect on February 25th. It says institutions of higher education must designate multi-occupant student restrooms, student locker rooms, student shower rooms, and student changing rooms for the exclusive use by students of the male biological sex only or by students of the female biological sex only. And so that's why they changed the bathroom signs. But then recently, the president sent out another email saying something to the effect of, oh, we're going to take these down because apparently just saying men's restrooms satisfies that quality. And that just to me is, then why, the whole point is the cruelty. Like that to me just exposes that like, if you're saying that like just saying men's restrooms and just saying women's restrooms is perfectly fine to satisfy that, then the whole point was just that you wanted to dehumanize trans people in legislation. And that is just like, it just exposes it to me. I don't know, but so yeah.
It's interesting because that means that if there was a co-ed locker room, they would have to segregate it. Like, it's interesting. Like any multi-stall restroom cannot be unisex, which I know that most unisex restrooms are single occupancy anyway. But that is really interesting that is the language that they chose to use for this. But you're right. Yeah. The whole biological males thing. Yeah. It's only to spit in the face of trans people. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It's point is the cruelty. Like, it's
it's so weird because I don't even understand what they get out of the cruelty. Like, there's no real reward in it for them. They're not real Christians. I don't think any of them have any sincere value towards Christian religious like practice. Performatively, they care because it's important to their constituents, but I don't think any of them as politicians do. So I really don't understand. It's really hard. Like, I could at least understand like the trans sports one, right? There's like a rhetorical, strategic motivation there. That makes sense. But like the bathroom stuff, it's like, I don't know.
It's like harder to look at. I guess it's like harder to drum up hysteria around immigrants nowadays. They're still trying, but they had to pick a different group of people, I guess, because it's too abstract.
Right.
If you live in New York City, it's too abstract for you to think about people coming through the southern border. So they've got to create like a ubiquitous, ever-present, they're lurking in your kids' schools kind of danger that is omnipresent. That's my best guess anyway, is like they're just using us as this, like, oh my God, there's this huge problem that we've just been ignoring for years. Now give us all the executive power so that we can fix the problem that trans people exist. Like, basically.
Yeah, I don't get it. And the whole reason I called is when I was looking at the discourse online of people talking about like, well, you've got to understand they need their federal funding and state funding and stuff. It was like those responses were getting a lot of support. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, fuck that. Because you're just telling me that, like, yeah, like I said earlier, like, basically fuck marginalized people because normal people, like people that we consider valuable, might lose their job. It's like, fuck off. Like, I'm glad I'm not off base there, because
it's hard because
maybe I was just being too idealistic or whatever, but yeah, I don't know.
I mean, there is part of me that has sympathy for that argument, though. Like, I know that from like the perspective of like the, I don't know, someone working at one of the main offices on like the campus or something, right? Like, they are just working a job to take care of their family, to put food on their table. Yeah. And if they're like, oh, take care of people who I don't know, who I have no relationship to, or take care of my family, of course they're going to pick your family. Like, I have sympathy for understanding why people do that. And I don't think it's necessarily malicious or evil, but it is just like so reprehensible. And, I think, should we somehow rectify the timeline and return back to the not worst version that we're on now, I would like to think we'd look back on these events with a lot of shame and disappointment, but man, I don't fucking know what the future holds anymore. So
yeah,
I thought I had some broad strokes pictures, but now it's just
no idea.
No fucking clue.
Yeah, and like I do too. I see what you're saying about like understanding that, but yeah, I mean, it's just like, I don't know. It all just goes back to, I mean, I've talked before in previous calls about being gay. It's just like, when your literal existence is political, like, you don't ever get to do that calculus. That calculus is not available to you, because no matter what happens, you will be impacted. And it's just so frustrating for people to be doing calculus on your right to exist. Like, so.
And yeah, I don't even know if this has really hit the news yet, Brian, but like, one of the, I think it's House of Representatives people, his name is Josh something, just proposed, or he's basically drafting a request to the Supreme Court to ask them to reverse their decision about same-sex marriage.
Oh, I heard. Yeah, I heard.
They're coming for y'all too. Like, and you know that. Like, I'm just for chat. Everybody might not know that this is
for sure
something that is going on too. Yeah, but they're gonna come for interracial marriage. They're gonna come for gay marriage. It's not just trans people. And they're coming for disabled people too. They're talking about like people who are on ADHD medication are like bad for the country. And I'm like, I'm glad that I haven't been taking it that much lately, which means that I have some, because I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it in the future now.
Yeah, they've added A onto DEI too. Now it's DEIA, which is for ability.
Oh, great.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, that's great. That's like the one thing that I can't hide. Like, I can't pretend I'm not that. So I don't know what's going to happen. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, Brian, we appreciate you calling in, because I a big part of this episode has been focusing on the ways in which despite the fact that the executive orders are not legislation, they are just sort of directive for how to interpret and apply legislation. States are doing it. Schools are doing it. Institutions are doing it. And people are suffering. They're losing their job. Queer kids are losing their community. Like, this is happening now. And it's good for our audience to be able to hear that, because hopefully that motivates the middle of the road people to go, well, all of this stuff is maybe not such a good idea. Or to be like, fuck it, I'm picking up my pitchfork. I'm joining the rallying cry, I shall say. Anyway, Brian, thank you so much for calling. If there's anything else you want to add, I'm happy to give you one last word before we let you go.
No, not at all. Just thanks for all you guys do. I'm sorry it's all bad news, but I love the show. I know I've gushed about it before, but love you all. Thanks for everything you do. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Have
Brian.
a good one. Bye. Yeah. Can't help that it's all bad news when it's just all bad news. I mean,
Not your fault. Like,
right.
I'm watching Star Wars Andor, and it's really good. If you haven't watched it, you should watch it.
Hey, there's some good news.
For me yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Oh my gosh. All right. I'm just gonna, wait, hold on. Is there any, I guess we'll take Michael, and then we'll probably go in order after that. So Michael, he, him in New York, has a question about the term assigned male at birth. The use of the word implies agency. Yeah, I'm curious about your take on this, Michael. So go ahead. You are live with Arden and Lux. What's going on?
Hello. Man, I have to tell you, sitting on hold and listening to all these horrific, this is a very scary time. And I know it's difficult for a lot of people to stick to their guns right now. So I appreciate what y'all are doing on this show. And I'm just one straight white guy, but I want you to know I'm here with you the whole way. So whatever that counts.
Thanks,
for,
Michael.
sign me up.
Right on.
I'm here to learn. The term assigned at birth, to me, assigned feels like an act that's deliberate, so an agency or a creator or something like that. And I'm just wondering if there's any dialogue around that phrase or something I'm missing, or is there a different way to say that type of thing that doesn't sort of imply almost like an intelligent design or a deity or anything like that?
Yeah. So the term assigned male at birth is actually developed mostly to be like kind of a legal term. So we're basically saying that with the limited information that the doctor had at the time you were born, which was probably just, does this infant have a penis or not?
And how big is the penis?
Right.
Which is a weird thing. Yeah.
They there is some sort of measurement indicator when it's ambiguous. Basically, the doctor evaluates you and decides whether or not you should be male or female. And while that is probably right the vast majority of the time, I'm not trying to suggest that like it's completely arbitrary. There's a lot of instances where it's not right. So the whole point is mostly to make it like a legal term. Like, I was assigned male at birth. I'm not necessarily like, it's a way of kind of trying to like, I guess I'm kind of losing the words. Lux, do you want to jump in on that?
Sure. Yeah. Basically, like, what we're talking about here is, that someone just kind of looks at you externally, and then they create a label that they put on you and that you carry with you through the rest of your life, unless you get it legally changed or something, right? You could, I guess, if the word assigned is triggering something a little funny in your brain, you might think of it as like designated, maybe rather than assigned. But like, it's basically just saying, this is what was determined about me without my consent by a doctor. And I guess like society in general, or like your parents might also have an opinion about how big the penis is, because then the parents can decide whether to have you surgically altered if you are intersex at birth. Or if you're ambiguous genitalia, obviously intersex at birth situation. So yeah, I mean, it's basically just, I think, also a way for trans people to abstract themselves somewhat from this external designation that someone else made. Like, I know that for me, me saying I am female is like I'm claiming it as like a thing that I accept as part of me, when in actuality it was something that was done to me when I was born. Like, it was given to me when I was born. So if I say I was assigned female at birth, that's more like, that's not my problem. I didn't do that. That had nothing to do with me. And now I recognize that designation, first of all, might not even be accurate because I think I have an intersex condition, but also I am trans. So it's like not accurate in the longer term of like the fact that sex is also a way that we identify ourselves in society. I don't know. Does that make any sense, Michael?
Yeah, it makes tremendous sense. So assigned by the doctor, I that makes complete sense. Thank you. I always sort of kind of in my brain, it was like, God made me or whatever, and that's just, it seemed like sort of maybe personifying what is basically a random biological process. So no, that, that definitely clears it up. And I really appreciate explaining it to me. Thank you.
Yeah. How about we can help, Michael? Thanks for calling in.
Thanks.
Bye.
That was so quick.
I know. I love it. That was so easy. And somebody who just like takes in information and goes, "Oh, I was wrong. Okay. Maybe you're lying, but I at least will like receive and internalize the words that you said. Like, oh my God, it's amazing." A quick reminder before we take our next call. We have 3 callers left. We're going to get to all of you. If you hit like or subscribe on this video, it's totally free and it helps massively. All those little buttons that you press, the like, even if you hit dislike, any engagement helps the video perform well. So click all those buttons, do the things, leave comments. I'll probably tag some merch a little bit later in the show. So if you're see something pop up and you're like, "Ooh, that's really cute. You should click that." Check it out. See if you want it. Because even just clicking it is going to help us. So let's take Giddy, pronouns he, him in Utah, has siblings who've asked him to challenge their transphobic views. How to know if they are actually open to changing their own beliefs. So Giddy, you are live. Help with Arden and Lux. Help me understand exactly what we're talking about here.
Oh, yeah. So I basically live with a Jordan Shapiro type sibling. And so they always express that they are always open to facts and will change their views when presented with new information. But they're also frustrated that none of the information presented seems to challenge their views. So like and they want to have a discussion with logic, sources, whatnot. But I don't know if they are ready mentally or like if their process of research allows them to actually challenge themselves in any meaningfully skeptical way that isn't just pseudo-intellectualism.
I mean,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it is interesting when people profess to have this value, because the thing is, I could point you to resources of like, here's the data that you could point to. But the problem with people like that is that they tend to go, well, that data is not valid because such and such reason that I just fucking made up on the spot. I don't like that organization that commissioned that result. Or, I don't like the person who wrote that paper. I think they're biased. It's like the situation we have with this judge right now where they're trying to say she's biased because she's a lesbian, so she can't rule on the trans issue.
Yeah.
They'll just come up with bullshit to disregard your evidence. Now, I hope that this person actually believes that like the process of coming to truth is by evidence and the scientific method. That may or may not be the case. But if you want to talk about like if there's any particular argument that you feel like you really could use some direction or like you want some specific resources to pull from, we might be able to help you kind of pick out, what might be some good research or a good article to cite on it.
Mm-hmm. I'm definitely happy to do some specifics. I'm definitely happy to do some specifics. I think, Giddy, what you stumbled on is just like, it's the reason these shows exist, right? Like, it's the quintessential problem of whether or not somebody can change their mind. And usually the answer is not in a direct conversation. Lookers by can often change their mind. And often people will think about things you've said and mull them over and maybe change their mind in 6 months when they wake up in a cold sweat and realize you were totally right about something. But most people aren't going to change their mind over the course of a conversation, even like Lux said, when presented with empirical evidence. Just the fact that they profess this belief in front of you is going to make it more difficult for them to accept this new information. So it's a challenge. we can do it because we have an audience. We're doing it in front of people. There's lots of lookers by while we have these conversations, but it's hard to do in your personal life. But yeah, I'm happy to go over some specifics if that's what we want to do.
There's just so many places to start. I don't think it would actually be productive because he's misinformed on a lot, from COVID to trans things. So
you could encourage him to call us. I mean, that's always an option. We're happy to have the discussion.
I doubt he will, but maybe.
I mean, you can at least float the idea. If this is one of the ways that you can catch people out. Like if this person says, I care about facts, logic, and reason, and I want the truth, I want the arguments, I want the research, I want to read it. If you say, oh, I have been following this show, they actually do cite research when they discuss these topics, and they invite people who are oppositional to come talk to them. If they then refuse, it might be some excuse like, I have to work, whatever. There are other shows on this network that exist in the evening that you can also call in, and trans people are on those shows as well. But it's a way that you can call people out. Like, oh, well, I just told you that there is a venue for you to ask these questions honestly and get honest answers, and you refuse. That tells me that you are not holding true to your professed values. And that makes me say, I don't care about anything you have to say anymore because you don't care about facts and logic. You care about your feelings. And that's just a great way to catch them in that little prioritizing their feelings over the facts moment. The Ben Shapiro fans, it's my favorite way to get them. It's my favorite.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty... You can even go back through some of the shows here, Giddy, and there's a few, every now and then we'll have a caller and we'll walk them into a trap. I mean, it's... Hosts on the line do it all the time where, I will ask that, like Lux is saying, I will ask them a question about their values. Like, oh, do you value truth? Yes. Okay. Do you accept... the validity of the evidence for X, Y, and Z as supported by the American Psychological Association? Yes. Okay. So do you then accept the position of the American Psychological Association on trans identities being not a mental illness, valid, and that transition is the best treatment for them? And then when they say no, right? You've just walked them into the exposure of their, those kind of lines of questioning are good, where you start out by asking them questions that elucidate a value that they have to profess to, which will cut. Those are the kind of things that once they get to that logical break, that in 6 months, they'll wake up in a cold sweat because they're like, oh shit, the two things I said at the same time were incompatible. But it usually is still going to take time for those things to sink in, even after you crucify them, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Just to comment on what you said, Lux. I don't think he's. So, what would this be? That he doesn't. I have told him he should call in to the show, and he's expressed that atheists have flawed logic. So he's not running away from his values or anything like that. He's just affirming that. So I don't know
what I would say in that situation.
That's useful.
What I would say in that situation is, okay, so you're doing the thing that all of you right-wingers do, which is you only care about the facts and logic when it confirms your opinion. Like I said, you just confirmed basically, this is the type of person who you'll say, well, this research says this. And they'll say, well, I don't like that. I don't like the W path. They're unreliable. They're biased. Okay, well, you're not really a skeptic if you're not willing to listen to people you don't agree with. And if you are not willing and able to point out the flaws in my logic, I don't think you even understand what I'm saying,
Right. The experts can be wrong. The experts could absolutely be wrong or could be biased, but it is then incumbent on you to show, here is how the experts are wrong. They are saying, premise 1, premise 2, conclusion, and the conclusion doesn't follow. You can, you exactly. Sorry, my train of thought is also so fuzzy right now, so I apologize for...
It's part of why you have to manage your stress as an ADHD person, because the brain stupids, they come in hard. They're I'm going to wreck everything. The goblins are throwing shit everywhere. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay. I think Yeah, all right. I just want him to practice skepticism better, but I already know that he's doing his best. So
I know. It's so frustrating, Giddy.
I'll give him time.
If he
I
loves,
feel you.
if you love Jordan Peterson, have him watch the debate with Matt with Jordan Peterson, because that's a good gateway drug into atheism.
I didn't know that was a thing. I need to watch it now. That's cool.
All right. Well, yeah, I'll leave with that. Just that's about it. I did have one question about the previous call, but I'll probably save it for tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah. Call in with Javon and I tomorrow night. We'll be happy to talk to you. So have a good night, Giddy. Thanks for calling.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Good time for self-promo. Thanks to that caller. Tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Central Time, Jovan Bradley and I will be here doing calls on trans stuff. And he is really good at like leftist, socialist kind of things. I agree with all of the policy prescriptions, but I don't have the like theory knowledge on that stuff to take those calls. So I will probably not participate in those, but you can call him and talk to him about that if you want. All right, we've got... Oh, also, we're going to read Super Chats after this. Any Super Chat of $5 or more, we will read out live on air. And if you include hashtag Team Lux or a hashtag Team Arden in your Super Chat, you will get a vote to one of us, and then whoever gets the least amount of votes has to defend a silly position at the end of the show for some clippable, memeable content. And no hashtag, no vote. So make sure you get the hashtag in. But 2 callers left. We've got Nat, they, them in Brazil, asking how can people outside of the U.S. help with the current presidential situation in the U.S.? And oh my God, Nat, if I fucking knew, I would have so many answers. I'm not sure I do have an answer, but let's talk about it. So what's going on?
So my question is what you said, because just to give some context, we had our own wannabe Trump here a year or two ago with Bolsonaro.
Mm-hmm.
He was very much just a wannabe Trump, and luckily we managed to dodge a bullet there. And Brazil also recently in the historical sense, from the 1960s to the 1980s, went through a dictatorship. So it is very much ingrained in the culture, like the whole anti-fascist sense. And ever since this whole Trump situation started, I've been wondering how can people outside the West help? Because when I see people talking about how to help, it's usually directed at people in the U.S. So, like, talk to your governor, talk to your president, your representatives. But I can do that because I'm in the U.S. So I was wondering, how can we help?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that one of the most important things right now is trying to ensure that your country remains like a good place to be, because the U.S. just issued basically a visa travel ban. Like, if you have changed your legal gender marker and you try to enter the United States, we will consider that fraud and you'll get a permanent ban from the United States of America. So it seems like what we need right now is places to go. So to the extent that it's possible, obviously, if you can send money, those are kind of the easy things that we say. Like, if you can send money to someone who's trying to move from a red state to a blue state, for example. Like, I just moved across the country and so many trans people are moving across the country. And that's like the easy thing. But like helping ensure that there are places in the world where people who are fleeing places like Britain and the United States, they have somewhere to go. I know that there's a lot of trans people in Brazil. It's a very large country, obviously, to start with, but there just are a lot of trans people there. So just making sure that like in your government and in your local communities, you maintain like an outward pro-trans position. And like, obviously, I know you don't have that much control over your direct like government situation, but anything, if you can vote on pro-trans people in your own country, because it does seem like we're reaching a situation where trans people, like, not only are we fleeing within our own country, but we're trying to figure out options outside of our own country, which it is a present danger for a lot of people who are considering that. And it's, so just making sure that there are places to go other than here, I think is probably the main thing as someone outside of this country. I don't know. Do you want to add anything, Arden?
No, I think I think that's really good. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. There's no like direct actions, right? I mean, unless you are like independently wealthy and you want to like fund people's fleeing. I don't not sure if there's any real direct actions that anyone can do to help impact Trump right now. Unfortunately, I mean, if you're I think I'm just echoing things that Alexa said now, but if your system of government is one where you get to call your representative and push them and make sure that they know that their constituents care deeply about these issues, and that can maybe have some sort of downstream effect where, if they're working with Trump, then they disagree on these policies, but like it, that is so many orders removed from the end goal. Yeah.
And I want to clarify for everybody, the travel ban is for non-US citizens trying to apply for a visa to come into the country. If you are trans and you leave the country and you're a citizen and you try to come back, it shouldn't impact you. This is a visa application process thing where they're considering it fraud if you put down a gender marker other than the one you were born with, if you are trying to enter the country via the visa process. So just to clarify for everybody, it's a trans travel ban from foreign nations into the United States. I want to clarify.
If I may add a second question, that is purely from my own curiosity, because I don't understand very much how the federal and the state legislations work in the U.S. How safe are trans people in blue states, even if in the federal level there is no plan against trans people?
Yeah, I mean, that's the great question, isn't it? So many of us are doing that calculation right now. I decided for myself, I think I will be safe in a blue state. I prefer a blue state over moving to another country because other countries have national healthcare systems that could just decide that unilaterally they're not providing trans-related healthcare. So in my opinion, as far as healthcare access, I've been of the opinion that a blue state is a good place to be. Now, I don't actually know how that's going to bear out long term. There are some local hospitals and stuff where I live that are like, we have decided we're going to continue providing gender affirming care to minors, even if it is against this executive order. But like, I live in a blue state and there are MAGA people here. There are people with Trump flags. Like, I don't know that it's 100% guaranteed. And we have seen evidence of, like, there have been hate crimes in sanctuary states, like in Minnesota, Minneapolis, like a sanctuary city in a sanctuary state. So it's like, it seems as though we are safer in some ways and not fully safe in other ways. And then even if we look at other countries, other options, the UK, you want to go to another English speaking country. Well, you can't go to the UK because they won't let you do any of the stuff that you want to do with your gender transition. Canada, it depends on where you go in Canada. And Australia, like I don't really know of anybody who is trying to flee to Australia, but I would like to research it now that I'm thinking about it. Because that's the real question is like, are we safe in a blue state? I don't know. Like, are you more or less safe in Portland than you are Kansas City, Kansas? Like, Portland has Nazis who walk around and beat people up too. So, I mean, there's no safe option. I don't think, no 100% safe option anyway.
Yeah. Some of the things that Trump is going to do is going to affect everyone, regardless of what state you're in. So I think it's, probably more safe, but definitely I would not say it's safe. Part of the reason that I haven't been rushing to move out of Texas, because I'm kind of in the mindset of like, well, fuck. I think I'm kind of screwed no matter what. Is a really huge rush to spend my money moving if I'm gonna be like persecuted anyway? I don't know. I haven't decided yet. I haven't finished doing that calculus in my head. Anyway, now how's all that to you? Yeah.
No, yeah, that helped a lot. I have friends in the US I'm like worried for. So I really want to know if there's more that I can do to help,
Yeah. I mean, being personally supportive, I want to just say that is a huge difference. We were talking about it before stream started. because bad news just dropped in Texas, where Arden is at, and I was like, I have this urge to like check on you, but like, what does it really accomplish if it's only other trans people checking in on each other as we're all kind of dealing with this and spiraling out and everything? It does make a difference. And I know you use they, them pronouns, so I'm not saying like you don't count as trans or anything, but like for people outside the country also expressing solidarity and just saying like, I care about this a lot and I really hope you're okay. And do you want to watch a movie? Even that can help, just knowing that there are people who care, because feeling like you're dealing with this alone is dramatically worse than just dealing with it with like, the support of people who are telling you, I care about you, and not just performatively posting on Facebook. I see those people and I'm like, I would appreciate it if you would directly message people instead of just making like a performative statement broadly. Like, oh, I hope my trans friends are okay right now. Like, check in on your trans friends and make sure they're okay, or like offer to make them a food or something, like,
wow,
if you live anywhere near them. Yeah.
You're so woke.
Oh, and crazy. Yeah. So just being there for people, honestly, does make a huge difference. Even if you feel powerless, you are helping your friends in the US by being there for them.
Yep.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right.
Yeah. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks for calling, Nat. Best of luck. Talk to you later. All right. We're going to get to super chats here shortly. Yeah, man. My mood this episode has been like, was like actually pretty good coming in. It's just been like, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I can't keep up my wall of dissociation and delusion when I'm on the show. So it's just like, oh, right. Yeah, this is the world.
Yeah. Like now I'm suddenly dealing with it all again. Yeah.
But Grace, she, her in Canada has a question about toxic masculinity, regarding her siblings. So Grace, you are live with Arden and Lux. What's going on?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oop, wrong banner.
Perfect. Okay. Well, let's hope nothing cuts out this time. This is my third week calling in a row.
Sure.
Oh no.
Sorry. So I guess. Oh, sorry.
Sorry. No, I had the wrong banner up and I was stuttering, and there's a delay, and it just the timing got weird. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So I guess I'm at about, what is it, 16 months HRT. I know I've been for 2 years, but I still haven't come out because I have a very toxic masculinity type of family, specifically around my brothers. For example, when my nanny was in the hospital dying, my mom's mom, I woke up to my brother who had come back yelling at my mom because she had a LGBT flag outside her house, and he tore it down. No one in my family is religious outside one of my brothers, like even my grandparents. So it's not anything to do with religion. It seems they're all quite just, again, this toxic masculinity kind of personified. And I don't really know how to approach that subject, I guess, how to get that, because I don't know, it's kind of a black or white mindset for a lot of these people.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I almost feel like this would be a great call for Josie to take, because she grew up in like that Mexican Catholic family type dynamic. Yeah. Where it is like, yeah, that incredible expectation that you live up to this particularly idealized version of a man. And like every trans woman, I think, has to deal with that to some degree. Like there is always going to be some kind of external, oh my God, you're just failing at being a man, or like, oh, you just need to do this different, whatever. But it's so poignant when it's coming from your close family members. And I mean, like, I don't know that there is a good way. I mean, this is going to sound terrible. I think the best thing to do in that situation is to be really good at conforming to the female stereotype. I just don't, because there's this expectation that you're either one or the other. And it just feels like you would get at least conditional acceptance if you just were like, I'm really good at performing femininity now. I don't know. That's not a good answer. It's basically just get really good at passing, I guess, or whatever.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
I think this is why a lot of people who grew up in environments like yours, Grace, often end up being like sort of trans medicalists because of exactly what Lux is talking about, where like survival is conformity in those environments. And so a lot of people will go very far in playing the role of conforming woman to the extent that they can. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. If your brothers are the misogynists who are going to yell at your mom because she had a flag, I would say
tear it down.
I would say fuck those people. I don't care how closely related they are to me. I hope they kick rocks and maybe eat some glass, and I'm going to go be me, and they can suck the sweaty farts out of my butthole. That's how I would feel about those people. Like, I'm not, as maybe I'm weird, and so sorry if this just is not relatable to anyone, but to me, blood means nothing. Like, I care about my sibling Cole because we've been through shit together and we've been there for each other. That's why I love them. I love my mom because she showed up for me where it counts. That's why I love her, not because she's my mom. Like, I don't give a fuck about siblings. And if you're going to be a bigoted, misogynistic piece of shit, like, quite frankly, I hope you choke on it. Like, I just can't be asked to care.
I get that mindset. I don't think it's not necessarily that I care about blood, but growing up with him, he was always, I won't go too deep into it, but he was quite abusive, and it does kind of have this hold on me, which is one of those things of trying to gain the approval of someone who doesn't deserve it, and being aware of that doesn't make it easier to ignore.
Sure.
I do think, I already don't want anything to do with him, but it's hard to get rid of that influence. But I think amongst my other brothers, I'm pretty sure they started seeing the signs. Again, I've been on HRT for 16 months. I'm quite skinny, so it's kind of hard to hide breast growth.
Yeah. When you're hugging each other, it's kind of hard.
Yeah, and my youngest brother specifically got really toxic about it. He's like a Jordan Peterson fan, Elon Musk simp. He wants to be the 51st state, etc. And he did some really shitty things. Like, at one point, he called me a pedo, specifically because all trans people are pedos, I guess. And threatened to deck me. We never actually established, oh, I know you're trans, but I can put two and two together.
So, Grace, real quick, can I just ask, are you dependent on them for finances or for living situation at all?
Not my siblings. The only one I am still living with my mom, but my mom's actually great. When I told her that she's the only one I've told, she was actually very relieved, because she was like, "Oh, I actually know why you've been so depressed now, and we can work on it." She like hugged me. It was really great.
She's also like, "Thank God you're not like your fucking brother."
Yeah.
She's the only good one.
I don't know, Grace. I feel like I'm a terrible person to ask this, because this person sounds like the most garbage, subhuman trash kind of person that exists. And I have a really hard time having any room in my heart for like just anything for those kinds of people. Like, if the way you're describing him is accurate, I don't see any reason to keep this person. Like, obviously sometimes you can't avoid it with family, right? Like, so you have to be like smart about it to a certain extent, but like, I would be laying down every boundary to make sure I interact with this person as little as possible. I just can't think of such a worse person. Like, the way you're describing him, I'm like, yeah, he's the worst one. Like, in the garbage
that was
heap.
actually two different people. That last one was my younger brother, my youngest, and the first.
Well,
one
they both sound like they suck.
Problem
No
with
offense.
that younger brother, they both suck. The problem with the youngest one is I do actually work with him at the moment. And I'm going to be trying to work on that. But yeah, to the point where like everyone's like, "Why don't you and your brother get along?" And I can't like quite answer that, but I'm pretty sure they also figured it out. I don't think it's kind of more of a glass closet at this point. That makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I know that it's not possible for people to go no contact sometimes, but at least going low contact, where it's like, I will answer direct questions that are relevant to like something that you need from me right now. But other than that, like, don't look at me. Like, you know what I mean? Just like, I'm just not even going to acknowledge that you exist right now. That's all you can do with people who are trying to get a rise out of you, is just deny them a response completely. It's like and I will say, the way that this works psychologically, there's what's called an extinction event with if you revoke the thing that they are trying to get from you, they will start pressing the button repeatedly to try to get you to have a reaction. So there will potentially be, if you do stonewall these folks when they're having these, obviously inflammatory discussions, they're obviously just trying to, have some kind of reaction, or they just are trying to express their hatred or whatever. If you deny them attention, they will try harder for a brief period of time and then hopefully drop off. That's how psychologically this is supposed to work. So this is basically, I'm teaching you part of the process of click training a rat to help with your brothers.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you just totally don't feed into that, they will try harder for a little bit and then hopefully stop. So it maybe could be at least functional being around them if you're just like, I'm just going to not give you any oxygen to this fire you're trying to light.
I think that would, I've been kind of doing that with my youngest brother because it's been going on since like May. But the oldest brother is always been, that has never worked, unfortunately. If you are trying to ignore him or anything like that, he kind of pushes back harder.
Well, that's what I'm saying is you have to hold your ground for a period of time and not react for a period of time, and then they will stop, because you end up in this back and forth process where you actually end up reinforcing the behavior by temporarily denying the response that they want and then occasionally giving them the response that they want. That creates like a strong reward system for them to keep doing it.
The problem, because I don't think in his head that I don't think he's not trying to bully me. It's what he does, but he's got this, I guess, tough love mentality. If I just punch him around a bit, he'll come around and man up, type of deal. I had like 10 years of that, so.
Yeah, it doesn't work, right?
It's not.
To me, like, see,
it doesn't work. No, it made me hate masculinity. I push it away now.
I guess you might just be a better person than me, Grace, but like, but my dad was very similar, was like if I bully my kid a little and like that will like masculinize, and to me, that is not like it's like their way of loving me. Like they're just trying to help me and this is how they know how to me, that's not love. That is you being a bad person. Like you think that's love because you were abused and I have empathy for you for that. But I will not be the willing participant, a willing victim in your game. Like that's just, I don't know. I'm probably a terrible host for this call because all my advice is like, fuck these people. Like seriously, like they sound so awful. I'm like, just please stop talking to them. I'm begging you, find any solution, live with someone else if you have to. I don't know what you got to do, girl, but ew, gross. Put them in the wood chipper. Sorry, I just said to put your brothers in the wood chipper. That was probably inappropriate. But Grace, do you have any thoughts on that before we let you go? I'm sorry. I know personal advice calls can sometimes be hard because it's like, really dependent on your personal relationship and the dynamics there. Hello? Oh, we might have... Are you on a web caller? Oh, no, Grace dropped.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Well, hopefully Grace is watching and saw anything that missed. I see somebody in chat tagged me. That's all right. I see Grace in chat, all caps. I dropped. I'm so sorry. Yeah, I feel like I'm such a negative Nancy on that one. I just hate people like that. Like, it's not just, I don't like them. We have a different way of life. I don't want to be around them. It is like I gotta stop. I'm gonna get us in trouble.
I've been doing this too.
I'm like
on stream yesterday. I was in the middle of a sentence and then I looked up and I was like, I'm just gonna stop trying. I was like trying to reframe it in a way that would be acceptable, and then I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna drop it.
I can't reframe that thought. That thought is not reframable. I think you guys can pick it up, but plausible deniability here. Okay, so I lost one of the positions for the loser thing. I have two of them. I don't know what happened to the third one. Yes, I was about to put it up, but I lost the third one, which is the problem. So the positions for the loser to defend are either that the Electoral College should be decided by musical chairs, that political speeches should be rap, or third thing that I had one decided at the pre-show, but I thought I wrote it down, but I can't find it. So
while you're looking for that, I just want to finish up since Grace is in the comments really quick. Would I say that there's not really a way to fix toxic masculinity? You can't help people fix a problem in their own heart. So like you can try to be loving, but you can't stop someone from being toxic if they don't view their own behavior as toxic. This is part of why I'm trying to get people to stop calling people abusers, because I think that when you do that, it makes it impossible for people to recognize abusive behaviors within themselves. So we just need to start framing things in a way where it's like, you can be a good person and do something abusive, because most people don't understand abuse well enough to know that they shouldn't be doing that, or that they should be doing this instead. So, I would say, like, just in general on the topic, you cannot fix somebody else's heart. All you can do is say, like, I think this is toxic behavior. If you think that this is how you're showing me love, I don't feel love from you. And so I don't want to you're making me not want to talk to you anymore by being like this to me. Like, as far as the interpersonal level, that's all you can do. You can say, I will not be around you if you treat me this way, or I will engage with you minimally if you treat me this way. And then reinforce that by sticking to what you have said. So, but you can't fix toxic masculinity for other people if they don't think it's toxic.
I also think you're so fucking spot on with the oh shit, what was the second to last thing you just said?
Oh no, I
don't know. The keeping your boundaries, not reinforcing their boundaries. There's a great video called like The Estranged Mom or something like that, and it's this like psychotic narcissistic mother detailing how she's actually the victim because she treated her daughter like shit and her daughter stopped talking to her and went no contact. And it's like an hour-long documentary about how she's the victim. There's some great content in there for you to understand what's going through that person's mind on that side of the equation. Because there's so many times where they're like, oh, I kept texting her on her birthday and holidays to see if I could get something from her, and she wouldn't give it to me. And so eventually I gave up. And it's like, that is really the key. I went through the exact same thing with my dad. He, for years, would try to use every opportunity of a special event as an excuse to wedge it in the door. Can't give it to him. You can't give him a bite, because then they will run with it.
I haven't really thought about it in a long time, but I kind of did the same thing with my mom. Like it was like birthdays or like your cat died or stuff like that. And I was like, I haven't seen that cat in 7 years anyway. Like, why are you texting me about it? It's just because you're trying to get in here.
Yep.
Yeah. You just gotta deny.
What's really funny is, so my dad made me go hunting a lot when I was younger. That was one of the like masculinizing things we did. And it's one of the things that I hated as a kid, but now as an adult, I'm like, that's a good skill. I kind of like that I have that skill.
Let's go rabbit hunting. Come on, Arden.
Right? But one of the ways that my dad tries to connect with me is when he kills a deer during hunting season. He'll send me a picture, and I'm always like, I don't know how to express to you that while I appreciate the value of hunting as a way of like providing for your family and like being in touch with nature or whatever,
it's also important conservation work.
And in a lot of cases, especially with deer and animals like that, it can be important conservation work. However, I never, ever want you to send me a picture of your dead deer to be like proud of you for getting it. Like, I don't know how to express that I don't value the like, my deer is 200 pounds and your deer is 100. Like, I just don't give a fuck about that at all. Like, cool, you're providing for your family. I appreciate that. Ew, stop texting me because you killed a deer. I don't need to see the bloody carcass on the forest floor. Okay.
Yeah.
We have super chats. And I figured out that it's not the same one that I decided in the pre-show. I don't know what that one is, but this one's really fun. National parks to laser tag arenas. Mow down all the national parks. We're putting in laser tag arenas. So there we go. Decide which ridiculous poll we should do. EC is Electoral College. So Sorry, mods. When people inevitably say they don't know what that means, you'll have to explain that to them. But the rest of it, I think, is pretty self-explanatory. So, super chats. Let's go. Okay. Ooh, you want to start with that awesome math one from Sean Isherwood?
I'm so excited to say a bunch of words I don't understand. Listen, you could be having me cast a spell and I would have no fucking clue. It's like when you're reading the Latin out of the book and then crazy stuff happens. Anyway, thank you for the £5 from Sean Isherwood. Says, for n natural, 1/2 times 3/4 times 5/6 times etc. Like parentheses 2n minus 1 divided by 2n is always less than or equal to 1 over the square root of 3n plus 1. And, can't watch live, have fun. Okay, you just do this to torture us. It's always the first super chat. And he's like, 100%. I'm just gonna leave.
Cruelty is the point.
Thank you, though, for your generosity. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. $5 from Pibblepunk, half dog, half canine. After 11 months of hormones, my chest is finally big enough to give a good squeeze, and it makes me so happy. I'm so happy for you. I have been there. It's so funny because people also will make things like that into like a sexual thing, and I'm like, it's really not. Like, the second I had boobs, that I expressed like, oh, it's really comfortable to just kind of like sit with your hands on them sometimes. This woman I've ever met was like, oh, I do it all the time. Like, I just, I rest hand on boob.
Yeah.
They love to make everything seem sexual somehow.
£20 from Jackie Green, then. Thank you very much. Says, well, I got in without a second glance at my documents and out again with the same, but then the visa thing dropped, so who knows how bad it'll get next time. Traveling on VWP visa work permit for the time being, though. Here's hoping. # Team Arden. Yeah, goodness gracious. I don't know how they're going to do this either. Like, do you have to provide your birth certificate equivalent document when you get a visa? Because how the fuck would they know that you changed your legal sex? Do they coordinate with other governments? I don't think so.
Yeah, right. Like, this is the French government going to be like, oh, this person was trans, so you should deny. Like, no, I hope the governments would be like, oh, this female on her birth certificate. I don't know. I think it's probably, fine. $5 monkey a typewriter. This isn't a slippery slope. It's observing that some motherfuckers are building a greased ramp into the wood chipper, lining up folk. # team snack. Oh, my team things aren't up. Yeah. Absolutely. It's, I don't know. I have this like hesitation, and I was thinking about this earlier today that, because I want to be careful, I want to be skeptical, I'm always adding like caveats to my language and being like, just to let you know, this is conspiracy. I'm completely speculating based on limited information and things like that. And I wish I didn't feel the need to do that, because the right doesn't feel the need to do that ever. And it looks like it works for them. So I should really just be talking out of my ass far more rather than trying to be careful with my language. But yeah, the whole like, oh, we need them to remember that they need us thing from a billionaire, that made my stomach drop. I'm like, oh, they're intentionally trying to torture us to like establish some power dynamic. That's awesome.
Yay.
So fun.
So much fun.
I love the US government.
I love being American. Proud to be an American. Anyway, $5 from Monkey at Typewriter. Thank you again. It's time to pull down the walls of capitalism. Lowercaseism shall be the wave of the future. Wait, did I misunderstand the assignment? # team snack. True.
Nice. Nice.
That's a good one.
Lowercaseism is so good. Another $5 from Pibblepunk. When someone frames trans athletes as men playing women's sports, it's 100% guaranteed they're not going to have an honest conversation. True. I'm like, coming in, saying ladies to us both. I'm more and more convinced this was just a bigoted troll who's just trying to fuck with us.
Yeah.
Like saying ladies off the bat, men and women's sports. Like, oh, I'm so with you on everything. I listen. I'm so supportive, and I listen on everything but men and women's sports. Okay. Maybe you're a new viewer. I'm not convinced.
Yeah, crazy. $5 for Monkey at Typewriter. Arden, we're gonna have to be careful. Girl, I've written a whole goddamn Minecraft strategy guide in my mind since November. Team Arden. That's great. I really love the way you phrased that.
That is pretty good.
I don't play Minecraft. That's why I'm out here in the woods. I'm just trying to live by myself. I don't want to play Minecraft.
I know. I just want to be able to like eat and hang out and listen to music. That's all I want. 10 pounds from Sean Isherwood. If I call into the line about math, e.g. Topos theory of logics that break classical laws of thought, would that be welcome? And which? I called into similar shows about it and they went well. Yeah, I think you could call into Skeptalk with that, especially like if Aaron Adair is on, because he's a physicist. I think there could be some interesting conversations about sciencey things that go way over my head. That could happen on that channel.
Trans-focused here, I think.
Yeah, I definitely. I wouldn't recommend calling that here. Probably not the Sunday show either. We tend to try to keep that about God. If there's a way to tie it into that, then fine. But I really don't want to encourage atheist callers to like try to shoehorn a topic into being relevant. To get that a lot, and it's cringe. Don't do it, guys. Cringe.
Pounds. That's very generous. Thank you. Jessica says, recently came into a bit of money, and as a trans woman in Scotland, doing my best to fight back against the social media misinformation of trans people in America. I want to give you guys some of it to use to continue the fight. You guys are awesome. Thank you. That's very generous. It's not like things are better where you're from. I mean, I guess like it's like Scotland is affected by some things that the English government does, and they're not affected by other things. I don't know. I've had it explained to me like 8 times. I'm never going to remember. But yeah, I recognize that it's not great over there either, and so it's very appreciated. Thank you.
I think they are also flirting with disaster in Scotland, which is like, Can we stop? Can we stop for 5 fucking minutes, please? $5 from Austin Sims. As a lifelong championship Olympic level martial artist, I know women who can throw hands better than 90% of dudes. Check yourself, Andrew. True.
I just saw a video of like one of those grappling sports. I don't know what it was, but it was a girl and a guy, and she had clearly been there for a bit, and like she had training, and he was newer, but he had like a foot on her, and she made him black out. Like she got him in the headlock, and he couldn't do anything. And I'm like, she's got to be at least 50 pounds lighter than him, a foot shorter, and she just made him pass out on the floor. Like, come on.
I love that. It's so frustrating. Like, there's so many examples of the ways that biology is just not universal, and like nobody, by acknowledging that biology is not universal, is denying that there are trends, that there are statistics, that things happen on a normative way. It's just we're saying that that's
a skill. Like, athletics is a skill. It's a lifelong thing you have to build up. And just because you're 100 pounds heavier and a foot taller doesn't mean that I can't put you on the floor because I know what I'm doing and you don't. Man.
Yeah. One of my skinks here is the namesake of Brienne of Tarth, who, if you watch Game of Thrones, is the like giant female warrior badass. Was she the captain of the Knights Guard for a while?
She becomes... Yeah, she's the leader of the King's Guard at the very end of the show, which that's great for her, I guess. I just hate the way the end of the show. She's also Captain Phasma. You don't see her face, I don't think at all, but I did just watch that one last night.
Everyone was mad about the boob armor on that show.
Yeah, the lack of boob armor, I guess.
Yes. Yeah. Also, the other two in there are Jamie and Cersei. I'll let you guys put that one together yourselves.
Fun.
I think this one's for you.
$100. Thank you so much, Heathen Granny. That is extremely generous. We really appreciate it. They say women and LGBTQ folks deserve better than the McNazi as a dictator, and we need to fight the power. And God, I love that song. I don't feel safe in this country anymore and have been dreaming about leaving this shithole for about 4 years now, and Mexico is the plan pretty much. I don't think that's a bad option. I mean, they probably have at least some English-speaking population. So if you know Spanish too, like you'll be able to muddle your way along. And they have great healthcare down there. There's medical tourism from the US to Mexico. So I think that's a good move.
Low cost of living and also fantastic food, top tier food. Not like there aren't negatives to living in Mexico, but I mean, something I've been struggling with recently, where I keep thinking about the negatives of everywhere I think about moving, and then I'm like, there's negatives everywhere. Does it really fucking matter?
Yeah, you're gonna live your life somewhere else, and there's gonna be ups and downs no matter where you are.
Yeah. All right, we got $5 from Crystal B. I want logic. Wait. I want logic. Quote. I understand and accept, or people don't get. Okay, I understand. I want logic. I understand and accept, or people don't get basic human rights. Is what I hear from some of the people, and I hate it. Love the show. # Team Lux.
I gotta vote.
I mean, what's frustrating is it is logical, and they don't accept it, which makes them illogical. But people get really defensive when you get into the science, anti-science facts about trans stuff, and how being anti-trans is being anti-science. But
yeah. And something that I haven't mentioned, I don't think on TACIS, but I was talking about it this week on my show, is that the Republicans have figured out the language of secular values in this way, where they appeal to studies, but then you look at the study and it's a garbage study, and you're like, what the fuck? But it's because they are only trying to use your professed values to screw you over. It's like, we care about free speech. So when we say we want free speech, we mean we don't want government censorship, but they want government censorship. They say they care about free speech in order to get elected or whatever, in order to have good public opinion about them. And then they just don't actually care. So they don't actually care about coming to truth via the scientific method. They don't care about studies. They're just using that as a means of okay, this is the language of how to convince people in a secular way that has nothing to do with the religious arguments. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, JG in chat says, if you're getting backlash, it most likely means you push things too far and started infringing on other people's rights. No, we fucking didn't. And in the middle of the civil rights era, support for things like sit-ins was the lowest it ever was. So you're just wrong. People tend to push back right when acceptance is at the peak of turning over into just being a normal other subculture of society.
Yeah.
You're just wrong.
Yes, we did have this period of time where there was an increased amount of professed support, and that's because you kind of need that temporarily, and then it'll go back to normal.
Right.
You're like, I hate these people so much, they're terrible, and then temporarily you go, yeah, this group is amazing, we want to celebrate it, let's go to Pride, and then it can just fade out into the background and become normal. So yeah, it's during that attempt to recalibrate that they have this resurgence of conservative backlash. So yeah, the idea that, oh my God, trans people are taking it too far, suck my entire ass.
So silly. So silly.
It is. 5 pounds from TT Gangan, thank you, says, was watching Joven stream earlier. One of the frequent callers from here rocked up and got crushed. Wonderful to see. #Team Snack.
Hell
tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's cool. I'm
Sending
gonna tune in
Joven
tomorrow. That sounds fun.
Oh yeah, he's great. He's so good. Although I know he was complaining that he gets some shitty callers, and we mentioned call in studio, but I think I was watching his stream, and it does add up. It's expensive. The line, we can do it because we're a whole network, we're a whole operation, and so we're able to budget these things, and it works out. But when you're just by yourself, that's a lot to add on. So we got $20 from Haley Geringer. I have some extra money this week, so showing the love and supporting you guys a little more. So excited to see you with Joven tomorrow. Arden, love you all. Sorry, man, I can't read today. Love all of the crew here at TACIS, but I voted Lux last week, so #Team Arden. Thank you. Yeah, it's going to be a good episode. I'm excited.
$5 from DaCosta, no comment. Thank you. We appreciate you.
Super duper. Rogue without a pause. Arden, can we try for a commune in a temperate climate? I'm tired of living in places with only 2 seasons. #Team Lux for catching them strays. Thru. Yeah, Lux deserves some extra votes for that today. That was rough. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I would be less annoyed if it wasn't that he was an asshole. If it was an honest mistake, but he was an asshole.
Yeah. I gotta be honest, I don't miss the temperate climate. I like the weather in Austin. If Austin weren't in Texas, I'd probably stay, but the only other place like this is SoCal, which fires and expensive living, no thanks.
Yeah. $10 from Brent J. Thank you. At times like these, I am reminded of the immortal words of Donald J. Trump. What it really is, do people exist? Hashtag Team Lux. Hashtag Frankenstein created an NB. Frankenstein created an NB.
I saw those quotes regarding like when they were going through the like IRS thing, and they're like, "Oh, people were getting payments for years and they don't even exist. Do these people?" Somebody did a good compilation of him saying, "Do these people exist?" in one meeting, like 15 times over. $10 from Marceline. Anxiety brain is becoming a pandemic. I'll choose it over RFK Jr. also spreading his measles and brain worms. That's next. Sorry, my brain no work now either. Hashtag Team Lux.
True.
Feel that. Yeah. Thank you.
It's the one thing about having a backyard flock is like, I would love to have a backyard flock, but I also don't want to be personally exposed to bird flu.
Yeah, it's not fun.
It's not good. $5 from Mr. Buriqua 10. Thank you. Says arrived at Nat's end of call. We'll watch back. Nat's cool. And Grace sounds like they need to smack a Philly. Hope it was a good show. Much love. Hashtag Team Lux. Thank you.
I feel so bad when people want family advice. They're like, my family sucks. Yeah. What do I do? And I'm like,
burn the bridge.
Burn the bridge, baby. Push them down a flight of stairs for all I care. I mean, I don't, you know. As long as they're out of your life.
Minecraft.
In Minecraft. Not in real life. Don't actually push someone down the stairs.
Don't actually do it. No. It's the metaphorical wood chipper, okay?
You guys, you have to know that I'm a humanist, so whenever I say things like that, in all cases, I am always being metaphorical or hyperbolic, and I don't actually encourage violence. 25 alleged dollars from Malalo75, French Canuck, cisgender hetero male, wishing LGBT community all the best. Also wishing that someday humanity will give everyone the respect they deserve. Down with MAGA tyranny. Hashtag Team Lux Arden, because I love you both. I appreciate it.
Thank you. $5 from Stephanie Helm says, why don't the sports chuds ever call when I'm on the show? I'm a U.S. sailing race official and an active racer 27 years post-transition. Yeah, it's because you're too powerful.
Because they are chicken.
Yeah, maybe you should put it in the title. The next time Stephanie guests, just put like trans sports supremacy. I don't know, you know.
Pro-trans athlete.
Title major.
Takes her call.
Yeah.
$5 from Beeks. Pro dog trainer here. Just shouting out the clicker training reference. Hashtag Team Lux.
Yep.
Nice.
DBT therapy. I learned so many tricks and it's all evidence-based and that's one of them. Like, how do you get people to stop fucking calling you? You got to stop answering the phone. Like ever. Yep. Thank you for another £5 from Jessica. Says, I forgot to say in my last super chat, hashtag Team Arden. Sorry, Lux, but I feel bad for the amount of times I've seen Arden lose recently. Yeah, no, that's fair.
I've been getting cooked, you know? It's all right.
It has to happen sometimes.
It has to happen sometimes. Honestly, I'm glad. I would like to see a good, fair balance of everyone getting roasted equally, you know? Because my love language is like bullying a little bit. Just like a little bit, you know? So...
my partner and I have been going, why are you gay to each other? Just like all the time recently.
I occasionally will go up to Matt and tell him that homosex is a sin.
Yeah.
Just the image of those signs will flash in my brain. And yeah. Anyway, $5 Canadian from Veeks again. I actually like almost always hashtag Team Arden because of the reptiles and badass vibe, but Lux got me with the clicker training this time. I like how you gave me a vote, but also mentioned that you're happy that you gave Lux the other vote. Thanks.
Yep. Just negated your vote. Always good. $5 from Ari Turner. Thank you. Says, I think that Estranged Mom documentary is called Estranged Parents, An Epidemic of Entitlement here on YouTube. I believe that I've seen that one floating across and I haven't clicked it because I have one of those parents and I was like, I don't want to deal with it right now. I don't really want to think about my mom being so mad that I haven't answered the phone in 15 years, you know?
Honestly, I think it's so fascinating though to watch her reasoning throughout all of it. And like, I'm like, the things she's saying to the camera are the exact things my dad said to my face. And I'm like, there is some phenomenon. Like, you guys have the same brainworm. I don't know if you and RFK and her all like had like a little threesome and shared that brainworm amongst y'all, but like same exact strategy. That is, I don't think it's like intentional. Like, I don't think it's Machiavellian. Like, it's strategy is just like one that is like accessible to humans in America for some reason. I don't know what it is.
I see. I was thinking of a different video from a psychologist called I Read an Estranged Mom's Manifesto, but I do see The Estranged Parents Epidemic of Entitlement by Jolie Roberson.
It's interesting. It's worth a watch only because it's interesting. But yeah, her brain is fascinating to me. In like a morbid way. $5 from Mr. Bodie.
Like, what is going on with you?
Yeah, you got something wrong. Addendum, not literally a smackophilia, much less engage in violence, but definitely needs to extend righteous spice and boundaries. Yes.
True. 25 units from Dorota, thank you, says, guys, take care. We will make it. # Team Lux. I also want to share that this Friday, it's going to be a half a year from my bottom surgery. Like a half a year until your bottom surgery later this year. Because that's exciting. And also, if it's the other way and it's been 6 months since you got it, then congratulations both ways, I guess.
Yeah, for real. I've been a little afraid and nervous about the prospect of bottom surgery in the upcoming world. I'm like, is it better or worse? Like, part of me thinks, oh, it's obviously better. It's so much better. Why would you not think it's better? And then I'm like, but it could also in some ways end up being so much worse. Like, I don't know. Spiraling over it.
Yeah. I did want bottom surgery for a while, and now I'm like, I think that it actually just would present a really practical daily problem into my life, right? Like that's kind of the thing. And then like having to get stuff replaced every 10 years or whatever. Yeah.
I've considered having my boobs implants removed only because of that. So I'm like, if we're going into like the kind of apocalyptic future we're going into, like minimizing complications seems like a relevant strategy, and that's kind of part of what my thinking was. Is like, I really would
want to need ongoing medical care like that.
Yeah, it's not an easy. Okay. $5 from
that was Grace.
Joshua. Yeah, honest people feel the need to give caveats. Dishonest people feel obliged to just say whatever. Yeah, but what good has honesty gotten us? I mean, let's be real. No, I know you guys depend on us to have some integrity and try to be honest, but it's just so frustrating that like Lux said earlier in the show, like, you spit off a lie and it takes us 10 minutes to pull apart each facet of that and explain why it's wrong and what the truth is. Whereas they just get to say bullshit. And it's so frustrating that I have to make a statement. I have to give like 20 caveats, or else there's a bunch of people in the comments who are like, actually, technically you got this wrong and you made too affirmative of a statement. And it's like, okay, well, thanks.
We didn't actually read Grace's super chat. We put it on screen and then we moved past it.
Oh, my bad.
Okay. California, $5 from Grace. Thank you, says # Team Lux. Sorry, Arden, I voted you 2 weeks in a row. Thank you guys for the help. I had one more thing to ask. Is there an easy way to rip this Band-Aid? Girl, this is... It's so personal to every situation. Like, you could just rip the Band-Aid off. When your brother's being a shithead, you could be like, well, I'm a fucking pedo tranny, so what, like, I don't know, like, you could do that. Or, alternately, you could just never talk about it with him. It's just like, yes, you'd have to figure that out within your own family. Don't compromise your safety. Sometimes men do unpredictable shit. So keep that in mind. Yeah.
I fully support, like, I prefer personally, and this is just my value, and if it's not for you, that's fine. I feel the need to extend them a bridge for a conversation, but it sounds like you've already done that, so I'm not saying you need to do it again. Once I've had a conversation with them, and made it clear what my values are, at that point, all communication is going to be like digital or virtual. Because in my mind, I'm like, I laid out the boundaries. If you want a relationship with me, you have to change. You have to meet me halfway. And until you do that, I'm not budging. So I hope I hear from you again. And if not, then I'll just remember you as a person who died being a piece of shit. And I hope I don't have to remember you that way because you're my brother. And I'd kind of like to be like, we had some good times, you know?
It would be
wasn't
nice.
always bad. Short way to say no, there's no easy way. It sucks.
Yeah, there's no easy way to rip the Band-Aid. You know, you're going to have to figure that out. When is the right moment? What's the right way? Are you going to send a letter? Are you going to be directly confrontational? Like, I don't know. Prioritize your safety, though. That's the only thing.
Yep. $5 from Alicia on a silver bow. What do you call a snake that works for the government? A civil serpent. Hashtag snack jokes for hashtag team snack. That was pretty good. I like that one.
We call that Elizabeth Warren.
Wait.
You remember everybody calling Elizabeth Warren a snake?
Oh yeah, that is true. Yeah.
Remember that fucking 5 million years ago?
To be fair, I loved Elizabeth Warren so much, but the Bernie is sexist stuff was just like, I don't believe you, and why? Why? Why did you have to do this? It was all good until you did that. That's not true. It still would have been terrible, but you know.
Anyway, $5 from King Cyrus the Great. Thank you. Says these folks want us to marginalize trans people while they cut Medicare and Medicaid and give billionaires $4.5 trillion. Shake my head. Yeah, they're pointing at that thing happening over there while they're picking your pocket over here. Crazy.
Yep. $5 from Monkey, a typewriter. You know, like 60% of American men think that they could score a point against Serena Williams. If I leave that court alive, it's because she let me. Hashtag team snark snack.
She'll be crip walking on your grave, dude.
So funny. Why are men so delusional? I don't understand.
Oh no, it's crazy. Thank you for another 5 units from Grace. I wasn't gonna donate again, but you brought up Game of Thrones season 8 with burning passion. I'm still mad. By the way, listen to Epic the Musical is good. I'm gonna die mad about them ruining the end of that show. And then like you got House of the Dragon and the executives are messing with stuff again, and it's like, let the writers do their job. They're good at their job. You leave it alone. But you know what it is. What it is. It's a for-profit industry. It's not a means by which we make good art. It's a for-profit industry.
Right. Yeah, it's Yep. I didn't hate any of the individual things that happened in Game of Thrones. I just felt like the execution the season 8 was poor. Like I totally.
I
never
hate
mind.
Some aspects of it.
I don't want to give spoilers, but
Game of Thrones thing.
Yeah, I think all of it could have been done if it was done well, but none of it was in that last season, at least. $10 from Cartoon Hero 1986. Transphobes are all freaking out about trans women in athletics while forgetting that we have nearly 40 years of cis girls kicking ass in boys sports. Yeah, and like 100 years of co-ed team sports. Hashtag Team Arden. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely plenty of sports and competitions that are co-ed.
And as always, these people are not even watching women's sports anyway. So it's like, what? Like, just shut up, actually.
Yeah, fucking faker, liar. You don't care about this.
Fan.
Fake fan.
Mm-hmm. $5 from Aliash on a silver bow. Thank you. It says, what do you call a snake that is good at math? An adder. Haha. Hashtag more snack jokes for hashtag team snack. Hashtag ballot stuffing. Hashtag don't tell Josie.
Nice.
True.
I also think if anyone asks you about women's sports, I think you should start now by just saying, if you can name me 5 professional female athletes,
Yeah.
I will have this conversation with you. Tenacious. Oh wait, did I read the last one?
I think I did.
Okay, $10 from Tenacious P. Hey, cis het white male here. I want to support LGBT during the Fourth Reich. Are there ways to make myself available to those outside my circle who might need a day walker to assist them? Hashtag Team Arden. I mean, there is no like universal system that I'm aware of.
You could do so. A few years ago, there was a thing that people were doing where they would attach a safety pin to their apparel because it's like you're a safe person to be around. You can wear a Progress Pride pin as well as a way of just indicating that you are an ally. I don't, obviously trans people are going to be keeping to ourselves in some ways coming, going forward. But yeah, I would say just if you are willing to put yourself in a position where you could get harassed or whatever for wearing a pride pin, but that is a good way to signal. Or if you have a name tag, if you're able to print out a second label that has your pronouns on the name tag, that kind of thing. Just very subtle, very quiet signals that tell people around you, like, I would be a safe person if you needed someone safe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, I think there are some organizations like John Brown Gun Club I've always liked. When I've been at protests, they've been some of my favorite people who have been like the sort of safety guards there, and they often will bring like medical equipment too. So I like John Brown Gun
And the
Club.
Socialist Rifle Association as well.
Yeah, if you want to be organizations like that are a great way, because you're usually defending like protests and like actions, organizing events for like political purposes. So that can be more honestly impactful than like. But I mean, I don't know, if you have no trans people in your area and you're like, hey, just to let you know, if you ever need someone to walk with you to feel safe, call me. That'd be cool too. I bet you a lot of people would be really appreciative of that. So.
A show. Thank you for the $5 from Melatonale, saying, my husband and I have talked about me getting my Mexican citizenship just in case. I can get it through my mom, #Team Snack Mom. If it's easy for you to acquire, then I would say go for it. It's not going to hurt anything. I guess like if you are literally destitute and paycheck to paycheck, then don't, because it's going to cost money that might not help you. But then again, like if you need to uproot your entire life and move somewhere and you don't have resources, then you'll be glad you spent the money to get that finished when you did. So I would say go for it.
Yep. We've got $20 here from Gabrielle Ochoa. Hi, Arden. When is the next Reptile Expo? Thank you for flipping me off. Also, Mexico leans very left at the moment and are very LGBT friendly. Have you considered living along the border and skipping back and forth to USA and Mexico? Yeah, my understanding is that Mexico and a lot of like Central and South American countries have really good laws on trans stuff, but that like culturally there can be more like incidents of like problems. So, I mean, I'm not opposed to it. I mean, whatever is the safest, I'm happy to do. The easiest and the safest thing, like, take that path. But we're going to be at NARBC in Dallas at the end of March. So that'll be our next main expo. That is like the biggest expo in the country. Well, it's a part of the organization that does the biggest expos. I think technically their biggest one is Schaumburg in like northern Illinois. But yeah, there you go.
Thank you for the 10 Canadian units from Quantum Chaos. Says, just got here in time for Super Chats, so I have no idea what's happening, but #Team Lux, I broke the app I built today and my boss isn't happy. Oh no. Sorry for making you read this camel case hashtag. I figured it out. I don't have dyslexia, so I think that makes it a little easier for those long hashtags.
Right. Oof, yeah, that's gotta suck.
Yeah.
$20 from Wade Hathaway Music. A racist, a fascist, and an idiot walked into a bar. What can I get you? Asked the bartender. I'll just have a water. Make sure the glass is small enough for my hand, said Donald Trump. #Team Lux.
True.
Nice. Honestly, I love things like this. The person who made the like AI video of Trump sucking on Elon's toes and put that all over an office building, that. I want to see that everywhere. I want to see billboards of that. That is the kind of shit that's going to trigger the ever-loving fuck out of Donald Trump, and I love it. Narcissists can't handle that kind of thing.
$10 from Jax Takabe. Thank you. Says #Team Lux, #non-binary. Just giving you money and voting. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Nice. Another $5 from Melatonin. I had to go to North Carolina with my dad recently because he's a raging misogynist, and it's been great so far. #Team Arden. The box wasn't stuffed enough last time. Thank you. I appreciate your hard work. Without you, I would never make it through on these challenges.
True. 10 Canadian units from Cartoon Hero 1986. Thank you, says Arden. I think it's just part of the narcissism and personality disorders that makes people like your dad and that estranged mom have the same talking points. #Team Arden. I strongly oppose the casual use of cluster B personality disorders like that. As someone who's diagnosed with borderline, I really, really, really hate the way that we talk about this as a society, and I kind of wish we would stop.
Yeah, I understand that. I'm fully comfortable putting it on my father because he is absolutely self-obsessed and he's always thinks he's the victim. He's never done anything wrong. He lies and manipulates to get his way all the time and has no remorse for it, but like will do it in a way where people are like, well, yeah, I mean, I guess technically he lied, but like it's not that big a deal, right? Yeah, it's disgusting. I can't stand it. I definitely think there's some overlap in the narcissist playbook for dealing with certain things, but I do appreciate that it is overused. And my father has never been to a therapist, so it's not like he's clinically diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. With the knowledge of psychology, have just put that on him because he would never seek help for anything. Okay, let me get this set up for you. What did we?
I lost. Yeah, who won the poll? What poll won?
What's the poll question?
Political speeches should be rap.
Okay.
Nice. I guess I'm like mixed feelings because the national parks to laser tag arenas, that would be me like speaking against one of my most deeply held like values right now, which is that national parks are so important.
For real?
Yeah.
But instead,
I think legitimately this week I almost cried after reading about park rangers getting fired. I was like, that's fucking awful, and I'm so upset.
Donald Trump has talked about how we have enough lumber here in the country, and my first thought when he said that was like, oh my god, he's gonna clean out the national parks. Like, that's what that means, right? Like, where else are we gonna get lumber in the United States besides protected woodlands areas? Okay, charging up the timer for you. Are you so ready? 3,
oh god, I'm so ready.
1.
Political speeches, listen, okay, first of all, who even cares about the debates or the political, like, we're not sitting here listening to you lie. I'm not trying to sit here listening to you dodge questions. Like, we're tired of it, okay? The American people, we've moved on. We've moved on from listening to your political speeches and the lying and the blah, 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 okay? You need to come out there with your flat-rimmed baseball cap turned to the side. I need you in baggy clothes. I need you with dripping chains. And I need you to rap. You know, if you're going to prove to the American people that you're going to represent our interests, you got to be on the same level with Kendrick, right? You keep inviting these people to the fucking sports games. And like, that's the culture that you're trying to represent as like, this is American culture, but you're not even willing. You're not even willing to wear a grill. Please, come on. We need you to actually like, so first of all, also it'd probably make you a better writer because you have to be succinct and things have to rhyme. So this is going to help you develop as a PR person and as a person who has to like be in public all the time. You're going to be a better writer if you have to challenge yourself in these ways. It's like that term is like, I would have written you a shorter letter, but I didn't have enough time. You know, you really got to hone in your art here. Convince the American people that you know what's going on in our communities. Politics is the perfect place to do a rap diss. Come on, tell me that Kamala Harris doing a rap diss wouldn't have moved the needle a little bit. I think it would have helped a lot. And trying to see someone like Trump fail at doing a rap battle, like how you're going to lose confidence so quickly. You can barely enunciate in the first place, much less popping off as fast as some of these rappers do nowadays. Because I know fast rap, man. Or you can do an homage to an older rapper. Just bring it in, okay? Stop being boring. All political speeches should be rap.
Unironically, if Kamala Harris showed up to one of those political debates and rap battle talked shit the whole time, I genuinely, unironically think she would have won the presidency.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
been fun.
Without a hint of sarcasm or irony, I genuinely believe that I think that would make her more relatable and more compelling to voters.
Instead of like a weird alien like all these politicians are.
Yeah, right. Like the fucking every interview with Hakeem Jeffries is so cringe. It makes every bone in my body hurt, where people will be like, yeah, so I get that that's the line, but like, what about, you know, like these people, like they try to pitch him a question to humanize him and he just can't deviate from the tested, like, fucking advisor script thing. And it's just like, oh my God, this is why nobody fucking likes you people. Like, Trump just talks out of his ass. And that's why people love AOC, because she just talks from her chest. She knows what she's saying and what she's talking about, and that's why people resonate with her. Anyway.
Yeah, her very long content performs very well, because people want to hear everything explained to them. So, yeah. More
Absolutely.
AOC. We need more.
Yeah. So, anyway, guys, that's been the show. Tune in tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Central Time, or 6 p.m. Central Time, and come back here next week at 2 p.m. Central Time, and we'll be doing stuff and talking about trans stuff and, you know, all that. Anyway, if you want to join our Patreon, join our Patreon. Go to this, become a part of these names that are on this list. You can get access to ad-free versions of the Lighthouse podcast. You can get some sick merch deals and all that awesome shit. And mostly, it helps us keep the lights on to be able to produce stuff to reach more people like you, to convince them that we have a good message. So thank you guys so much, and we will see y'all next week. Later, losers.